Okay, hi. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to EduMont. Welcome to our session here today, where we're making a first-time announcement of having the 2024 CPA content in India. Now, before I get into any of that, I actually want to take you through an entire session. And in this session, I'm going to talk about everything from the very basic. CPA kya hota hai se lekar, what is the eligibility, and how do you pass the CPA exam in one attempt? What is the right study material? I will cover everything today. But before we get into any of that, let me quickly introduce the team that is working on a Saturday here at a 4:30, making everything work out instead of enjoying a weekend. So firstly, we've got Himanshu here, who is in charge of the lighting, making sure everything works. He's also in charge of the camera, the equipment. He's the one who's on the host PC. He's going to run me through the presentation. So he's there to facilitate the session. Then I have Mohit and Saurabh. These are the Both of these are the senior most program advisors we have. So both of them have a lot of understanding about CPA, but more importantly, Saurabh here is an operations specialist. So if you have any questions, मतलब anything कि ये फॉर्म कहाँ से आएगा और ये कैसे भरते हैं and where will I get the documents and what all documents do I need, everything he knows in detail. So you can ask him. He's going to be putting things in the chat, as will Mohit, who is our senior most program advisor, like I've told you. Then let me also introduce myself. My name is Rohan Chopra. I am a CPA and a CMA. I am also going to be your primary CPA faculty. So I will personally be taking up more than 60% of your content. I will personally deliver it. With that being said, I also recently became India's first CPA CMA to speak at a TEDx or to deliver a TEDx talk or a TED talk as we call it. In fact, my TED talk is available on YouTube and you're very welcome to go ahead and find out. Just simply put in Rohan TEDx and it'll be the first video that pops up. It's about the edtech industry. It's a commentary on that. So you're welcome to look at it. Not now. Abhi nahi, abhi to yahan ye dekh lo. Then maybe if you want, you're welcome to do it. Okay, with that being said, I also want to find out who you are because instead of enjoying your weekend like everybody else, you're also devoting time trying to understand what CPA is. So, with that being said, Manchu, there's a poll. Let's quickly release it. Yeah, ये तीन सवाल हैं. In the polls, you'll be able to see them on your screen now. All you have to do is let us know a little bit about your educational background. That's all we want. And then based on that, I will tailor today's session to your needs. Okay, go ahead, take a pick. Okay, based on the people who did vote. And by the way, folks, poll karna, usme vote karna is a way of interaction. So do take it up. And if you miss it, you miss it, then you never really get to interact. So what's the point? But with that being said, there are multiple other points of interaction. For example, if you have any questions, put it in the chat. And if you have any questions for me, you specifically want me to answer certain questions, I can. All you have to do is raise hand. So Zoom mein niche option hai. Click on that, raise hand, or if you're on your mobile device, you'll find it in the menu. Raise hand. When you do that, here Himanshu will know you want to talk. And then he'll unmute you at the right time. And then we can talk as if we're on a phone. You'll be able to hear me, I'll be able to hear you. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at the poll results. So, class 12th में कौन सी स्ट्रीम थी, कौन सा आपने सब्जेक्ट्स पढ़े, ग्रेजुएट किसमें किए? तो वो अगर सवाल देखा जाए तो 93% of you came from commerce and 7% of you came from science. Nobody here is from arts in your class 12. Did that percentage change when it came to your graduation? No, it did not. 93% of you again graduated from commerce and the rest of you from science, which is fair enough. मैं बताता हूँ इसका बेनिफिट क्या है. जो लोग कॉमर्स बैकग्राउंड से आते हैं, they actually get certain advantage in the sense that eligibility भी ज़्यादा आराम से मीट हो जाती है, plus 11th-12th में अगर आपने डबल एंट्री सिस्टम वगैरह पढ़ रखा है ना, तो then understanding financial accounting and reporting and understanding the CPA content in general becomes a little bit easier. So that's the idea. So वो advantage है. जो साइंस से आ रहे हैं, no problem, we will try and see if we can help you and we'll bridge over the gap that people from commerce have already achieved. Now, with that being said, let's also talk about what is your highest qualification, which is actually the watered down question. यहाँ पे पता चलता है audience अभी कहाँ की है, कौन सी है. So if we talk about people who are still studying, 14% of you are still studying. अभी graduation कर रहे हो and you're figuring out graduation खत्म करके नौकरी करनी है या अपनी पढ़ाई पहले खत्म करनी है, then we want to do a job. So I get where you're coming from. People who've done graduation are 36%. I assume you're already working, and if not, then you're probably a fresh graduate applying for jobs. And if not, then you're probably a fresh graduate figuring out, should I just start a job, an entry level job, or should I complete my education? Same thing as the guys before. So absolutely relevant question, and I'm going to try and tell you how CPA can add value to your career. Okay, now people who got a master's designation, master's or a post graduation, sorry, and people who got a professional designation, these two people, ये group अगर मैं बात करूँ, 29% people have a masters and 21% people have a professional designation. these two groups of people are highly qualified, especially the ones with a professional designation. मतलब जैसे उनका CA है या CS है या CPA है या ACCA है, they have a designation, something put next to name, they're highly qualified. I bet you're working, and if you're not, it's only temporary. I bet you're already at the job, but now you're trying to figure out, is CPA a course I can do along with my job while retaining my employment that will help me get better employment or better clients in the future? Can I expand my practice, or can I figure out कि जो मेरे अभी करंट स्कोप ऑफ वर्क है उसके बाहर मुझे क्या मिल सकता है, ऊपर क्या मिल सकता है? एंड ऑफ कोर्स with more work, more responsibility comes more pay, so we're also looking for that, and I get that. So I'm going to try and answer all of these questions as I walk you through the presentation today. Speaking of which, let's actually want to move straight into the presentation. By the way, this is not going to be a boring presentation, something which is just कोने में डब्बे में मैं चला जाऊंगा and it's just going to be a PPT or something like that. ऐसा नहीं है. In fact, I will be in the PPT. This is me. Himanshu will be able to move me around and help me interact with certain elements as and when needed. He can make me bigger, smaller, whatever he wants, whatever makes more aesthetic value. With that being said, let's actually move forward and talk about the first question of the day, which is, what is CPA? Basics से शुरू करते हैं यार. What is CPA? I'm sure you've heard online, कहीं ना कहीं किसी ने बोला होगा, दोस्त ने, किसी काउंसलर ने जिससे कॉल पे बात करी या ऑनलाइन कोई वीडियो में, कि जैसे इंडिया में CA है वैसे यूएस में CPA है. That's the most common definition that's given to us, and the problem with that is okay, it's fine, it's not wrong or factually very incorrect, but it's not fully presenting the scope of the qualifications to you. It's just saying ये दोनों basically same चीज है. Now here's a fun fact. 40% of my existing audience is chartered accountants, CAs. अगर ये यूएस की CA ही है और सेम ही चीज है, तो then why are so many chartered accountants studying for CPA? कुछ तो अलग होगा इसमें. Let me try and explain the difference in the scope of a CPA versus a CA. Okay. Now, in India, you've got SEBI. SEBI क्या कहता है? If you're a publicly listed company, you need to get yourself audited, and you need to submit the audited financial statements back to SEBI. Who's going to do the audit? Who has the authority to do the audit? In India, it's a chartered accountant. But a CA will not stop at just auditing, right? He's also going to help you with accounting and reporting. A different CA will obviously help you with accounting and reporting. A different CA will help you with tax work. A different CA would help you with consultancy. Questions about, should I raise more debt? Should I raise more equity? Is the variable versus fixed cost component, is my degree of operating leverage optimal for my business? Questions like these you will ask a CA, somebody you trust, somebody who understands finance and accounting. So ये चार काम इंडिया में CA चारों fields में करते हैं. Similarly, in the US, you have the SEC, which says, the Securities Exchange Commission essentially says, if you're a publicly listed company on American soil, you need to get yourself audited. And who's going to do the audit? It's going to be a CPA, but the CPA is also going to do accounting and reporting, tax work, consultancy, right? The same four things, right? यहाँ पे similarity है, but इसके आगे खत्म हो जाती है. Now here's the difference in scope. Okay, when we talk about listed on American soil, we're talking about two stock exchanges. Number one is NASDAQ. Number two is the New York Stock Exchange. Now, NASDAQ is fair enough. It's a medium-sized stock exchange. That's fine. But New York Stock Exchange is the world's largest stock exchange. Nowhere else on planet Earth will you find access to this kind of capital at this pace. Now, you may say, how does this affect me? Well, here's the deal. ये सोचो, इंडिया में एक कंपनी को लिस्ट होने के लिए पब्लिकली एक सर्टेन साइज का होना पड़ता है, राइट? To have a certain amount of revenue, to have a certain amount of history, right? Now imagine, what is the bar for the largest stock exchange in the world? So who would get listed there? Which would be these companies that get listed on the New York Stock Exchange? I'll tell you, they're the world's best companies, best of every country. You want to know a few Indian names? I'll tell you. India में HDFC Bank है. That's a very Indian bank, right? अपना bank है. But HDFC is listed on the New York Stock Exchange. You've got Tata Motors in India. Tata Motors is doing exceptionally well in the EV space. And it's also the owners of Jaguar and Land Rover, the JLR group, right? They are also listed on the New York Stock Exchange. So is Wipro and so is Infosys. After getting listed in your home country, if you reach beyond a certain size, you get listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Now, here's a small exercise. Think of any brand, any major brand. that you know is a global brand, that you know is available in India, it's also available in Europe, it's also available in the US, and there are a ton of these brands, right? Think about them. And I'll tell you, 99% of these brands are actually listed on New York Stock Exchange, either directly or indirectly. And now these biggest companies of the world that are listed on the New York Stock Exchange don't have a choice. They have to have a CPA do the audit. They have to have a CPA do the accounting. They legally require help with their taxes from a CPA. And they're going to get consultants who understand their requirements, who will be CPAs. And that's where the money is. The biggest of the world will be your client. And that's how you will get rewarded. That's why people who are chartered accountants choose to do CPA on top of it, so that they can differentiate themselves from other CAs, from other F&A professionals, to get a level up. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the next slide, Vanshu. Now, here's the deal. There's actually currently a global shortage of CPAs. Especially the US is experiencing the heat of it. And other countries are also suffering, but US is primarily facing the heat of it. क्योंकि वहाँ US गैप में सबसे ज्यादा अकाउंटिंग होती है, नेचुरली वो उनका गैप है. बाय द वे, गैप इज जनरली एक्सेप्टेड अकाउंटिंग प्रिंसिपल्स. एवरी कंट्री हैज देयर ओन गैप समहाउ. इंडिया में IND-AS चलता है, which is actually a derivative of IFRS. And IFRS and US GAAP are the two actual competing gaps in the world. So some countries follow version of IFRS and some countries follow version of US GAAP. With that being said, US GAAP में सबसे ज्यादा काम तो US में ही होता है, obviously, या American companies को होता है, या NYSE listed companies को होता है. So they're facing the brunt of it. Shortage क्यों है? Let me tell you that first. So 65% of the managerial staff that is currently working at Big Fours or CPA firms, or basically high level managerial and above level CPAs, are actually due for retirement within the next 15 years. And this problem is then accelerated by a major chunk of these retirees actually retiring within the next 5. So it's accelerating. And of course, ये लोग तो बूढ़े हो रहे हैं, retire हो रहे हैं, fine. जो जवान बच्चे आ रहे हैं, they don't have the experience, right? So how do you make this work? You can't have inexperienced folks with just freshers taking up CFO roles. That's not possible, right? You need to have a certain amount of time, a certain amount of experience before you get there. So isko problem ko solve karna hai. How do they do it? Don't worry, the world is already moving 2 steps ahead. Let's move on to the next slide. Let's talk about, Manshu, the solution that the American companies, that the world has already agreed upon. We've already decided on kya karna. And you'll notice this happening even more as we begin. Let me give you an example of Boeing. Boeing makes planes, right? Some of you may have traveled in a Boeing plane recently. Sure, everybody's heard of it to a certain extent. Most of you would have heard of it. So Boeing jo hai, is a company that makes planes, but is also a NYSE listed organization, and it's suffering the brunt of CPA shortage. So they decided we need a solution, and the solution was already in the works. Outsourcing is nothing new. It's already been happening for years and ages. And they contacted Genpact. Genpact said, ठीक है, हम इंडिया में सारा काम करा देंगे at a fraction of the cost. They gave the contract to Genpact, fired whoever was remaining, or released rather whoever was remaining in the US as F&A staff, sent them home. They got better jobs, they got better opportunities, shortage chal rahi was, and these guys saved a ton of money. Boeing saved the money. It didn't just pocket it, it then instead went out there and released jobs for engineers. So more engineers can come along and build better planes. The world is a better place this way, right? If everybody gets to doing their particular role. And this is what the global economy is about. And India has a ton of manpower. So we're actually helping with solving this outsourcing issue and helping the crisis, alleviate the crisis. How are we doing this? Well, by providing people who are experienced and have become CPAs, people who are already qualified and have become CPAs, people who are freshers and willing to do time to become managers, and then consequently VPs, and then consequently eventually CFOs or partners or whatever they choose to become in their life, right? That's how we're helping with manpower. Now, let me be honest. US is not just giving all of this to India. It's actually outsourcing it to 3 countries, China, UAE, and India. But you can bet India is going to be the majority winner in this case. Why? Because we are to data processing what China is to manufacturing. We are the hub. So that's the idea, right? Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Let me explain to you what are the actual job roles, or where are the actual areas where you can find job roles that suit you and your requirement as a CPA in India and abroad. So I'm going to talk about macro picture. जो आप अभी freshly qualify करके क्या जगह हैं जहां आप काम ढूंढ सकते हो. That's the idea. Now, I saw somebody put something in the chat. By the way, when I look this way, I'm looking at a screen. I'm also referring to a screen to see content, poll answers, things like that, and your chat messages, of course. So वो आपके जो chat messages हैं मैंने देखे. I hope सौरभ और मोहित somebody will respond, and if they don't, no worry, I will. थोड़ी सी देर में ये सब बता दूंगा आपको मैं अभी. Percentage नहीं है, percentile है. Just hang on tight. Okay, let's come back to the job market. Let's talk about the job market being explained. 6 areas where I find CPAs will be employed or are being employed, or you will find an employment as a CPA are: number one, the big four and the big six. Now, of course, big four and big six को थोड़ा सा अलग भी कर दिया मैंने because this is the obvious choice, but also this is a place where we as FNA professionals have some affinity. हमें अच्छा लगता है. I'm an ex EY. I tell everybody proudly I'm from EY, right? EY, KPMG, PwC, Deloitte. These are brand names. If you have them in your CV, your package increases. That's the idea. So ये तो हैं. Of course, they hire CPAs and they hire CPAs in bulk, as it happens to be. But with that being said, let's not forget that beyond these 4 companies, there's a world out there. There's also India's budding and massive outsourcing industry. Companies like Genpact, companies like Accenture, companies like DXC, Cognizant, you name these companies, and these companies have a basic business model कि हम बाहर से काम लाएंगे, we will do it here at a fraction of the cost, outsourcing basically here, and we'll do it with the same effectiveness. And for us, these are jobs that are coming our way, opportunities that are coming our way. So as it happens to be, these companies are happy to hire CPAs, and you will find gainful employment there. And based on your experience, your role may increase if you are relevant and found selected for the profile. So ये obviously एक जगह है जहां पे आप काम कर सकते हो. With that being said, there's also 10,000 plus major brands that are listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Like I told you, think about any major brand that is a global brand, and you'll find it is already listed on the New York Stock Exchange. सिर्फ एक ही ब्रांड है मेरे को जो ग्लोबल है पर मुझे नहीं मिला न्यूयॉर्क स्टॉक एक्सचेंज पे लिस्टेड, और उसका नाम है रोलेक्स. रोलेक्स की घड़ियां आपने नाम सुना ही होगा, but Rolex is not listed. That's the only luxury brand that's a global brand that I found is not listed. Rest everything else is listed directly or indirectly. You name a brand that you aspire to own, they're listed already. And that's the point. All of these 10,000 companies, they're facing a shortage. They need people, and they need some key essential people. Yeah, not everybody can be fired. You can't do what I just told you Boeing did, कि सब fire हो गए. Even Boeing retained their top officials. Everybody has to. Top officials in-house ही होते हैं. And वो finance के बंदे कौन होंगे? CPA ही होंगे. And that's the point. This is what I predict. You've already started to see, Indian B school graduates, exceptional people become CEOs at global companies. You've seen that happen, right? Microsoft, Google, you've seen it. It's a trend. You know what? Soon enough, you'll start to see CFOs who are Indians qualified in CPA, क्योंकि ये statutory requirement है. CA से नहीं बात बनेगी. If you want to be the CFO of Google, you have to be a CPA, by law required. So whatever, they'll still be Indian people who will be brilliant and exceptional. They'll be CPAs and they'll be taking up these job roles. That is what I'm predicting. That is what will happen. With that being said, let's also talk about the fact that there is investor biases in this world. So foreign investment and investor bias is a whole new segment. And this is where, that 40% chartered accountant audience of mine is going to fit in. Let me tell you what this is. Think about any major startup that's become a unicorn recently. You name one. India में जो है, बताओ, Swiggy, Zomato, Ola, Uber, you name them. What do they all have in common? They've all been funded by Silicon Valley Bank, Sequoia Capital, or SoftBank, or whatever, but it's a Silicon Valley Bank, which happens to be in the US. These are Americans who are investing money in India in these billion-dollar startups. And these Americans obviously are humans like you and I, and they have biases. And you know what? The investor feels just so much more secure investing money in a new venture when the CFO of the project is dually qualified. यानी कि उसके पास local qualification तो हो ही, which in our case is CA, and साथ में they have a CPA, which is the foreign qualification, which is the qualification that the investor knows and respects. This ensures कि आपको local knowledge है, local gap भी पता है, local laws भी पता है, but आप investor की भाषा भी बोलते हो, and you're more likely to succeed. And this is where some of that 40% of my CE audience is going to go, because some of them have the experience. They've already got 15, 20 years of working experience. They're older gentlemen, and I believe they will move ahead. With that being said, we also have expat and foreign taxation as a source of work. So let's talk about an entity like Amazon. Okay, Amazon has a brand, an entity in India called Amazon India. आप और मैं सामान Amazon India पे खरीदते हैं. Amazon India makes all of its money in rupees. It trades all of its goods and services in rupees, and it pays taxes in rupees. So its financial statements are also built in rupees and as per INDAS. But here's the deal. At the end of the year, this Amazon entity will be consolidated into one parent group. One group entity. Amazon. Not India, not US, not UK, not Singapore. Amazon. Period. That is the mother load, the mothership, the big entity, right? Now, this big entity will go to the IRS, which is the tax authority of US, the Internal Revenue Service, and they'll say, you know what? Here's our global entity, here's our global income, but here's the deal. We've already paid taxes on our income in India. And since US and India have a double taxation treaty, don't tax me twice, please. Give me a foreign tax credit. And who's going to help them in figuring out what their exact foreign tax credit is and how much to file for is going to be a CPA. That's the point. Now, with that being said, there's also new avenues and new technologies that are opening up. So as it happens to be, blockchain is something that you may have heard of, and blockchain is something that you may not even know what it is, or fully relate with it. But blockchain is actually a very good source of, or a good method of storing data in multiple subledgers. So it's actually incorruptible because there's a huge trail, and you can't corrupt all of the bits and all of the pieces. So it's very secure and it's rapid. It's a rapid technology. It's fast. So Wall Street banks figured out, you know what? Why don't we, instead of saving all our data in these hard drives and in this server space and leasing out huge servers, why don't we start using blockchain? It's better, it's faster, it's not corruptible, so it's safer. And they did it. And you know what happened now? A lot of the audit trail, history of the day trades, ये trading करते हैं ना ये floor पे NYSE के, उसमें day trade का हिसाब होता है. A lot of that gets stored now on the blockchain, and as a result, now the audit trail, all of the proof is on the blockchain. And now all of a sudden you have a new topic called blockchain auditing that is available. And in 2024, like I'm telling you, the new content is coming up in 24. In 24, this is being added as a piece of content into the audit exam, blockchain auditing. And soon enough, you'll find in 5-7 years, as this technology grows and becomes more accessible, there will be a fraction of CPAs who will call themselves blockchain auditors. They will be specialists and they will be paid highly. New technologies, new avenues will allow for new opportunities. That's the idea. And those are the 6 sources right there. With that being said, let's move to the next slide, Himanshu. Let's actually now talk about the fact कि बस अभी तक तो जो बातें हमने करी, ये सारी बातें थी कि क्या मिल जाएगा, क्या हो जाएगा. ये तब होगा जब CPA हो जाएगी. That's the truth of it. So let's come back to ground zero and try and understand कि CPA करने के लिए क्या लगता है. Let me start you off with the old CPA pattern and let me tell you what it was. पहले 4 सब्जेक्ट होते थे, ऑडिट, फार, रेग, बेक, और 3 तरीके के क्वेश्चंस होते थे, MCQs, TBSs और WCTs. MCQs आपको पता ही है, मल्टीपल चॉइस क्वेश्चंस. TBSs are actually also objective, but they are longer in form. And they are practical tasks that you expect a first year associate to be able to do. जैसे अगर ऑडिटिंग का पेपर है, तो आप फर्स्ट ईयर एसोसिएट से ये उम्मीद तो लगा सकते हो ना कि वो ऑडिट रिपोर्ट में अगर ब्लैंक्स हैं तो उसको भर दे. And that's actually an industry task called roll forward, because we don't actually fill in our own, or rather the audit partner does not actually fill in or make his own report. He just signs off on it. And he first intimates the associates and the team कि मैंने क्या opinion देना है. खुद नहीं बनाने बैठता, खुद टाइप नहीं करता वो, associate ही करता है. So that's the idea. That's an industry task that I expect you to be able to do. So the CPA exam has a question called TBS. TBS में वो task होगा, उसमें report दे देंगे, blanks दे देंगे 10 blanks. and fill them in now. But you don't have to fill them in like manually or with a keyboard. Instead, you will have options for each blank. हर blank में options होंगी. Drop down खोला, 6 options हैं जी, 6 में से एक select हो गई. So you see the point? It's also objective, but it's actually more practical. अगर for example accounting का पेपर है तो journal entry based questions हो सकते हैं. अगर टैक्स का पेपर है तो रिटर्न भरवाने के लिए कुछ फिगर्स होंगे जो कहेंगे कैलकुलेट करके भरो. Right? That sort of stuff. It's practical in nature. It will help you with your actual job. That's the idea. उस तरीके की टेस्टिंग है. And the third question that we used to see were WCTs, written communication tasks. These were essays. 500 वर्ड के ऐसे होते थे जो लिखने पड़ते थे. But since you are now here with me and we're talking about the 2024 content, so it's changed. These things have changed. Let me actually tell you what the reality is now. Let's move on to the next slide. Let's actually open up and let me explain to you what the 2024 content change is. Now here's the deal. 2024 का जो कंटेंट होगा उसमें जो मेन कोर सब्जेक्ट्स हैं वो अभी भी सेम ही रहेंगे, बस बीईसी जो चौथा एग्जाम था वो रिमूव करके उसकी जगह स्पेशलाइजेशन आ जाएगी. So audit, FAR and reg, which is auditing, accounting and reporting, so for financial accounting and reporting, FAR, and reg is US tax regulations and business laws, so that's the business law and tax paper. ये तीन कोर सब्जेक्ट्स अभी भी वही हैं, but BEC is being removed, and in the place of BEC we now have 3 specialization subjects. वो 3 specialization subjects क्या हैं? Let me first tell you that, and then let me tell you इन तीन में से ना एक ही चूज करना है. So for example, let's start with the first one, which is business analysis and reporting. So business analysis and reporting is about accounting reporting, so it's a FAR specialization. Next up, we've got tax compliance and planning, so TCP, which is actually, as you are able to guess, a reg specialization, tax paper se related hai. And next up, we've got information systems and controls, ISC. And ISC, as it happens to be, is an audit specialization. तो इन तीन में से कोई एक आपको चुनना होगा और आप खुद चुन सकते हो आपको कौन सा अच्छा लगता है. Now, before I get into the discussion of आपको कौन सा चुनना चाहिए, let me actually tell you what the current exam pattern is. So let's move on to the next slide. Let's get there. And let's talk about the new exam pattern of 2024. You still have your 3 exams, your audit, FAR, reg, but instead of back, you now have a specialization paper. Now, here are some things you need to know. Number 1, no more WCTs. Now there are only 2 types of questions, MCQs and TBSs. Task based simulations अभी भी हैं, जो long form questions में बता रहा था, blanks भरो जिनके अंदर, and MCQs भी हैं, multiple choice question, एक question 4 choices, वो भी हैं. WCTs नहीं, अब discarded. Second thing, the content for FAR and regulation, which are part of the core subjects, is actually getting easier in 24. You know why? Because इनका काफी content इनकी specializations absorb कर रही हैं. So as a result, what will happen is FAR and reg will actually remain only up to 80% of the current volume. So 23 का जो material है उसमें से 100% अगर हो तो उसमें से 80% रह जाएगा, काफी सारा content निकल जाएगा. So they're actually getting easier in the next year with the same exam pattern as previous year, which I'll tell you, I'll explain to you, but they're getting easier. Now the last thing you really need to know is audit, and this is why audit is in a different bright color. Audit is the only special case point that you need to understand now. Audit का अभी जो पेपर चल रहा है ना 2023 में, अगर वो 100% है तो in 2024 120% हो जाएगा audit, और बड़ा हो जाएगा, क्योंकि audit is the only core subject that's actually getting lengthier, because I just told you blockchain auditing add हो रही है. In addition to blockchain auditing, there's also 4 other sections that are being added in. So it will have 5 new sections, a whole new chapter with its own 20-25% weightage on IT. So IT अगर आपको पढ़ना पसंद नहीं है, and I know कि a lot of commerce people don't really like reading IT क्योंकि बहुत theoretical होता है, तो actually your only way out and the best way out right now is to give your CPA exam for audit in 2023. Now before I elaborate any of that, let me actually explain to you what the testing pattern looks like. First 2 testlets will always have MCQs no matter which exam you're giving. इनकी 50% weightage है. The next 3 testlets or groups will always have TBSs. इनकी भी 50% weightage है. Now I'm sure you're wondering ये testlet क्या होता है? Testlet is a group. So 4 exams and each exam is for 4 hours. And in each 4-hour exam, there are 5 groups. Now you're probably wondering 5 क्यों है? Why not have 4 groups? Why not have 6 groups? Why exactly 5? इस question पे pin लगाओ. अगली स्लाइड में इसका जवाब देता हूँ और वो परसेंटाइल वाली बात भी अगली स्लाइड में समझाता हूँ, इंटर रिलेटेड है दोनों. बट बिफोर आई गेट देयर, so first two Teslas always have MCQs, next three Teslas always have TBSs. Now the number of TBSs are usually fixed, 8 for audit, FAR, reg. Specialization में there is one subject that has 7 TBSs and two subjects that have 8 TBSs each. So आप देख रहे हो कि लास्ट वाला जो टेस्टलेट का ग्रुप है वो थोड़ा सा रेड बॉक्स में है, 2 to 3 TBSs लिखा है. This depends on which specialization you take. Now one warning before you start to choose a specialization based on the idea के किसमें TBS कम है क्योंकि वो पेपर कम लेंदी होगा तो मैं वो करूंगा, आसान पड़ेगा. नहीं, don't let this mislead you. Just because एक पेपर में TBS कम है doesn't mean वो पेपर आसान है. It's because वो पेपर लेंथी है. To compensate for the level of difficulty उस पेपर में से एक TBS निकाल दिया है क्योंकि वो ऑलरेडी बड़ा लेंथी पेपर है. दैट्स द आइडिया. तो जो भी स्पेशलाइजेशन आप चुनो शुड बी बेस्ड एक्चुअली ऑन योर फील्ड ऑफ इंटरेस्ट. आपको क्या अच्छा लगता है? अकाउंटिंग ज्यादा पसंद है, अकाउंटिंग, रिपोर्टिंग, प्लानिंग एंड एनालिसिस, इस तरफ जाना चाहते हो, इन्वेस्टमेंट करना के एंगल से बात करना चाहते हो, बीएआर इज अ गुड सब्जेक्ट. If you're more into tax, you are working as a tax professional or aspiring to work as a tax professional because they get paid well, really well, तो टीसीपी कर लो. टैक्स कंप्लायंस एंड प्लानिंग कमाल का सब्जेक्ट है. एंड इफ यू फील ऑडिट इज योर पैशन एंड यू आर वन ऑफ दोस पीपल हु इज नॉट श्योर अभी कौन सा डायरेक्शन लेना है, तो आईएससी कर लो. इट्स अ होल न्यू सब्जेक्ट. इट विल बी अ बिट डिफिकल्ट टू कोप विद इट, बट हियर्स द डील. एक सर्टेन क्वालिफिकेशन है, सर्टिफाइड इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम्स ऑडिटर, सीसा, जो बहुत लोग यूएस में सीपीए करने के बाद लेते हैं. इफ यू स्टडी सीआईएसए का जो एग्जैक्ट कोर्स है, आईएससी, इंफॉर्मेशन सिस्टम्स एंड कंट्रोल्स, वो अभी पढ़ लेते हो अगर आप, तो आपके सीसा के लिए जो नॉलेज होती है उसका 50% अभी आ जाएगा. which means you will be in a position to actually go ahead and crack any audit interview in any room as you may please. चाहे वो बिग 4 का कमरा हो, या वो जेनपैक्ट का कमरा हो, या वो किसी छोटी कंपनी का हो, या वो किसी फॉर्च्यून 500 कंपनी का हो, wouldn't matter. So you can choose your specialization based on what your interest is, where do you think you fit in, and choose one, and all the options are yours. But one thing I am recommending, and I am recommending this with a straight face to everybody, बस हो सके 2023 में ऑडिट का पेपर निपटा लो, बिना वजह आईटी का सेक्शन पढ़ना पड़ेगा. दैट इज द आइडिया. Okay, it's your call, rest is up to you. Let's move on to the next slide. Now since I spoke about the exam pattern, I actually now want to ask you a question. And since for the first time in history it's actually true, the CPA exam is now 100% objective, क्योंकि पहले रिटर्न होता था पर अब नहीं है, अब तो 100% ऑब्जेक्टिव है. तो आपको क्या लगता है, इज द सीपीए एग्जाम इजी? हिमांशु, देयर इज अ पोल, निकालो यार, सबके लिए क्वेश्चन फेंकते हैं ये. आप बताओ, डू यू थिंक द सीपीए एग्जाम इज इजी और ऑब्जेक्टिव क्वेश्चंस एट लार्ज आर इजी? लेट मी नो प्लीज. डन. चलो, लेट्स क्लोज इट. लेट्स जस्ट क्लोज इट. कैन यू शो मी द रिजल्ट्स, हिमांशु? देयर दे आर. In today's case, nobody said they're easy. Nobody said this particular exam is easy. But 21% of you chose medium, 53% of you chose hard, and 26% of you chose very hard. Now I'll tell you why I'm asking you this question. Because हमारे को ना ऑनलाइन मार्केटिंग के थ्रू एक नैरेटिव प्रेजेंट किया हुआ है. नैरेटिव क्या है कि ऑब्जेक्टिव क्वेश्चंस हैं, बड़े आसान हैं. कुछ कंपनीज ने एड्स चला रखी हैं कि 4 पेपर हैं 1 साल में दिए, मैं यूएस की फ्लाइट पे जा रहा हूँ, जिंदगी बहुत बढ़िया है. So it's just the whole marketing hype around it is that it's easy. Here's the honest actual fact, and I don't want you to judge the CPA exam on the basis के subjective. Think about this. कौन बनेगा करोड़पति में पहला सवाल बहुत आसान होता है, आखिरी सवाल बहुत मुश्किल होता है. दोनों ही ऑब्जेक्टिव है. लेवल ऑफ डिफिकल्टी इससे नहीं चेंज हो जाती कि ऑब्जेक्टिव है या सब्जेक्टिव है, बट in fact it entirely depends, it is dependent entirely on the examiner's want. What are they trying to do? What are they trying to test? If the examiner doesn't want you to win the 1 crore, they're going to ask you a question which is an MCQ question but very difficult, right? That's the point. Now with that being said, let me actually tell you the honest picture. CPA मुश्किल है आसान है, आपको बता देता हूँ, एक बार के लिए जवाब दे देता हूँ. First things first, you need to get a 75 percentile to pass the CPA exam, and that's not a percentage, that's a percentile. Now a percentage is basically your percentage of accuracy. Just say for example, if there are 10 questions and you get 7 of them right, you get 70%, right? यूएस में सीपीए का जो परसेंटाइल है इज नॉट द सेम परसेंटाइल एज योर कैट एग्जाम. इट्स नॉट एक्टिवली कंप्यूटेड, इट्स इन फैक्ट अ प्री पेग्ड परसेंटाइल. सो पेग्ड ऑलरेडी, प्री पेग्ड रादर. सो द आइडिया इज, ये जो परसेंटाइल सिस्टम है इसमें दो वेरिएबल्स हैं जिनके बेसिस पे स्कोर आता है. व्हाट आर दोस टू वेरिएबल्स? नंबर वन इज स्टिल योर परसेंटेज ऑफ एक्यूरेसी, इंडिया वाला स्कोर. द सेकंड थिंग is called the level of difficulty. Now remember I asked you a question पिछली slide में, why are there 5 testlets not 6 or 4? Well, here's the answer. The CPA exam is actually a computer adaptive exam, and how you perform in testlet 1 will determine the level of difficulty for testlet 2, and how you perform in testlet 2 will determine the level of difficulty for testlet 3 and then 4 and then 5. सीपीए एग्जाम में 4 बार लेवल ऑफ डिफिकल्टी चेंज होता है, इसलिए 5 टेस्टलेट हैं, क्योंकि टेस्टलेट 1 के बाद, 2 के बाद, 3 के बाद, 4 के बाद लेवल चेंज होगा, 5 के बाद पेपर खत्म. So now let me tell you how this actually works, how the percentile system actually works. And again, I know this is information that's scarcely available in India, especially when it comes to other tuition centers and other training institutes. They don't like to talk about this, but you need to know what you're getting into. So let me tell you. Let's say testlet 1, and it'll always, by the way, it's called the uniform CPA exam. So it always starts off at easy medium, which is 2 levels above from easy. देखो बीच का मामला होता है, easy medium से शुरू करते हैं. If you perform well in the first testlet, you get like a 70 or a 80 or a 90% accuracy in testlet 1. Testlet 2 will become more difficult. It will increase in difficulty level. अब क्या होगा ना, testlet 2 में because difficulty बढ़ गई है तो accuracy अब उतनी नहीं आएगी, अब कम हो जाएगी. That's okay, because as soon as the difficulty level increases, your percentile increases. So testlet 2 में क्या होगा, जैसे क्वेश्चन ज़्यादा डिफिकल्ट हुए, आपने रियलाइज किया ये तो डिफिकल्ट हो गया, मेरी उतनी एक्यूरेसी नहीं है, मेरी 50-60 आ रही है, तो भी बहुत है. The next testlet will get subsequently harder, because when difficulty increases, weightage increases. Okay, and यही अगर इसका उल्टा चलते हैं हम, testlet 1 में you bomb, okay, you fail, you get like a 40% or a 50% accuracy, it's less than 50 basically, you bomb, right? तो क्या होगा, testlet 2 will become easier. Now in testlet 2 you can get 100% accuracy, 100% सही कर सकते हो आप, but your percentage will only go back to where it started, it's not going to increase. You see my point? It's computer adaptive, and you have 4 levels, 4 पड़ाव हैं पार करने, एक के बाद एक के बाद एक. That's the point. Okay, does that make sense? I hope it does. Do let me know in the chat if you're good with this. If you have questions about this, feel free to ask. So that's how the percentile system works. That means if you're passing the CPA exam, it had to be a difficult exam. आसान होता तो आपको स्कोर ही नहीं मिलता, उतना परसेंटाइल ही नहीं बनती उतनी. Now here's the good part. Here's how the CPA exam is actually different from everything you've studied so far. Look at the arrow that we put here, and this is a dead giveaway. CPA exam different क्यों है? Because of the skills that are tested in the exam. Now here are the skills that are tested in the exam listed in descending order. Descending बोले तो सबसे important से least important. And by the way, this is not something I've just created out of my own imagination. In fact, this is on public record. You can simply go on Google, type AICPA blueprint, and you will find this exact information. Blueprint क्या है? AICPA, the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the body that confers the CPA degree, that body produces its official syllabus and calls it the blueprint. तो AICPA blueprint में ये चीज mentioned है. क्या है ये चीज? ये कह रहा है सबसे important हमारे लिए evaluation है, फिर analysis, फिर application, last में remembering. Now, even if you don't understand these buzzwords, these terms like evaluation and analysis and application, एक चीज आपको क्लिक कर रही होगी. अपने यहाँ इंडिया में पढ़ने का एक तरीका है, हम किताब लेते हैं, and in that book we'll try and make notes from that book, we'll reread it 2-3 times, अच्छे से पढ़ के उसको याद करके फिर हम जाकर पेपर देते हैं, एग्जाम देते हैं. और एग्जाम में हमें खाली पीस ऑफ पेपर होता है जिसको भरना होता है, और पेपर होता है खाली, पेन होता है हाथ में, भरो. सो हमारा स्टडी पैटर्न जो है उसमें एक चीज तो आपको पता ही है, जो आप आज तक इंडिया में पढ़ते आए हो, मेमोरी इज पैरामाउंट. चाहे पेपर आप स्कूल का दे रहे हो, कॉलेज का दे रहे हो, चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंसी का दे रहे हो, या पीएचडी का दे रहे हो, या किसी भी चीज का दे रहे हो, डजंट मैटर. मेमोरी इज मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर अस. बट द सीपीए एग्जाम इज सेइंग that in descending order, the fourth, the least important thing there is remembering. मतलब ये 3 चीजें, evaluation, analysis और application, ऐसी हैं जो remembering से भी ज्यादा value रखती हैं. Do you see this? Do you see this contrast? Tell me, Tell me in the chat. By the way, if this were a physical session in a hotel lobby, or in a conference room or auditorium, I would be able to look at you and tell you आप agree कर रहे हो नहीं कर रहे, पूछना नहीं पड़ता. पर अभी वो luxury नहीं है ना मेरे पास. You can see me, I can't see you. So please tell me in the chat, do you agree with this? Do you understand that there is a huge contrast? CPA exam में जो skills test हो रही हैं are different than the skills we've been developing all our life. And please don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining about the Indian education system at all. I'm a product of the Indian education system. It works fantastically, and about half of the world uses this method only. The thing is, American qualifications and American education in general does not follow this. For them, remembering is a lower quality skill than higher order thinking skills like evaluation, analysis, and application. And actually, life में, job में, remembering से ज़्यादा ये तीन चीजें काम आती हैं. Actually, do you agree? Tell me in the chat, please. And tell me this, do you also see okay, now that the testing pattern has changed, it's different. Our preparation strategy also has to be different. Tell me in the chat, do you agree? If the testing patterns changed, don't we need to change our preparation strategy as well now? हाँ या ना करो. आप हाँ करोगे तो मैं आपको आगे लेके चलूंगा, फिर मैं आपको दिखाऊंगा फिर स्ट्रैटेजी क्या है. अगर आप ना कर देते हो तो आप प्लीज, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, मैं आपका पॉइंट ले लेता हूँ, मैं आपकी बात मान लेता हूँ. फील फ्री टू पुट इट देयर प्लीज. थैंक यू अजय, थैंक यू कॉलिन, थैंक यू, thank you Hitesh, thank you. So some folks are putting the things in host and panelist, not really in the chat for everybody. तो क्या होता है chat box में where you're typing things, वहाँ एक option है to host and panelist, उस पर click कर दोगे तो drop down खुलेगा to everyone. Select everyone so that everybody can see it. Awesome, thanks Colin. Okay, what about everybody else guys? So तीन चार लोग ही agree कर रहे हैं मुझसे, बाकी लोग नहीं कर रहे हैं. Is that the case? Thank you Vartika, thank you. Okay, Ankit says I have added 2 questions and they're not there now. Don't worry, even if they're not there, they're with us. We'll see them. I can see them in the Q&A, Ankit, and at the right time, I will answer your questions. I promise. Okay. Thank you, Ankit. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Vanika. Thank you, Viral. Thank you, Swaroop. What about everybody else? Come on. There's enough people in here to fill this chat till eternity. Come on. Not enough people are putting things in the chat. 5-10 log kya ho gaya ye? What about everybody else? There's 50 plus people attending this. Okay. So you have questions, Saideep sir, you have questions related to your evaluation, but please do let me know, do you agree with what we're talking about here? Okay, thank you. Thank you for interacting. Thank you, Vikas, for interacting with us. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, Manchu, let's actually head on down to the next slide and talk about study material needed to prepare. Preparation तो तब समझाऊंगा मैं जब पहले आपको ये पता चले स्टडी मटेरियल कौन सा लेना है, क्योंकि उसकी भी एक कहानी है. So let me try and give you the full picture. Okay, so let me try and tell you the most realistic thing that's actually out there happening in the market that'll help you be informed as a consumer, because you're not just a student trying to become a CPA, you're also a consumer trying to avail a service. So you need to know all of the facts. Let me try and tell you that. Now here's the deal. If you're looking at study material, इंडिया में 2 तरीके के स्टडी मटेरियल मिलते हैं. तो ये इंडिया की खासियत है, इंडिया में हर चीज के 2 तरीके के स्टडी मटेरियल जरूर मिलते हैं, एक ओरिजिनल एक पायरेटेड. सॉरी, एक ओरिजिनल एक पायरेटेड. That's just how it is. Now, as it happens to be, जो original material है, that's actually the approved AICPA content, which is actually as per the blueprint. And होता क्या है, इंडिया में ICAI अपनी खुद की मटेरियल पब्लिश करता है. ICAI का अपना मटेरियल है, एंड उसके अलावा जो भी सप्लीमेंट्री वो मार्केट में अवेलेबल है, बट अपना मटेरियल भी है. यूएस में AICPA अपना मटेरियल पब्लिश नहीं करता. इंस्टेड उसने 5 अप्रूव्ड पार्टनर्स या अप्रूव्ड पब्लिशिंग हाउसेस को कॉन्ट्रैक्ट किया हुआ है. वो 5 जो प्रोवाइडर्स हैं वो प्रिंट करते हैं मटेरियल और उसको डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करते हैं और AICPA को रॉयल्टी देते हैं. So you see the point कि वो अपना मटेरियल नहीं निकालता है, बट ऑफिशियल मटेरियल 5 अलग अलग पब्लिशिंग हाउसेस से अवेलेबल है. वाइली, रॉजर्स, सर्जेंट, ग्लीम एंड बेकर्स, एंड दैट्स इट, राइट. एंड मैंने किसी ऑर्डर में नहीं बोला है ना, यहाँ किसी ऑर्डर में लिखा है 5 के 5 अप्रूव्ड है. बट what you can do is also pirate this material, right? And you can tweak it and make it your own. तो ऐसी भी कुछ कंपनीज हैं जो अप्रूव्ड नहीं है पर इसी अप्रूव्ड कंटेंट को कॉपी करके अपना कंटेंट बना लेती हैं. और इन 5 नाम के अलावा कोई भी और नाम आपको सुनाई दे या दिखाई दे तो प्लीज नो वो अप्रूव्ड नहीं है. सो डोंट लेट देम फूल यू. उसको बोलो ठीक है मेरे को पता अप्रूव्ड नहीं है, और अगर अप्रूव्ड नहीं है ना कंटेंट तो सस्ता होना चाहिए, एकदम सस्ता होना चाहिए. बट मोर इंपॉर्टेंटली सस्ता तो होगा, दैट इज वन थिंग. द अदर थिंग इज एक एक सीपीए एग्जाम इज वेरी एक्सपेंसिव. सो सस्ता मटेरियल है इज वन थिंग और इसमें कॉस्ट बच रही है इज वन थिंग. Please also understand that there are consequences to not having good study materials. That's why, sorry, that's why here at EduMont, when we decided to partner with somebody, we chose an approved CPA content partner. We didn't want to produce our own version. बड़ा आसान है, पैसे दो, सामान खरीदो, अपना कॉपी करके बना लो. We didn't want to do that. We wanted approved content. And for this purpose, we chose Wiley. I'm going to tell you why we chose Wiley. Here's the deal. जो 5 कंपनियां हैं उनमें से 4 except Wiley essentially are all using one simple specific business model, which is limited access for 18 months, and then if you're not able to clear your CPA exams in 18 months, you pay them renewal fees for every 6-month period. Okay, so if you get a Becker's material, or if you get a Rogers material, or you get a Sargent material, ये सारे जो materials हैं, these will all come with limited access. Unlimited नहीं होती. Wiley is the only company that comes with unlimited access. मतलब जब तक आप सीपीए बन नहीं जाते ना, कंटेंट अपडेट होता रहेगा और कंटेंट जो है आपके पास एक्सेस उसका रहेगा. बाकी जगहों पे क्या है, कंटेंट एक तो अपडेट नहीं होगा आफ्टर इट्स 18 मंथ पीरियड लैप्सेस, एंड आफ्टर द 18 मंथ्स हैव लैप्स्ड, और मान लो आपका चौथा पेपर रह गया या आपका तीसरा पेपर रह गया या कुछ भी कारण से कोई भी वजह से कहीं कुछ छूट रहा है या पेपर आप अटेम्प्ट नहीं कर पाए क्योंकि कोई प्रॉब्लम हो गई, वर्ल्ड में कोविड जैसी चीज हो गई या फाइनेंशियल इशू हो गया, हेल्थ इशू हो गया, कुछ भी हो सकता ना. द वर्ल्ड इज अनसर्टन. तो अगर 18 महीने में नहीं हो पाया तो क्या होगा फिर? रिन्यूअल के पैसे दो. और रिन्यूअल की वैल्यू पता क्या होती है? इस वक्त 50% ऑफ द ओरिजिनल इनवॉइस वैल्यू, और सिर्फ 6 महीने के लिए एक्सटेंशन मिलती है रिन्यूअल के पैसे देके. हर 6 महीने में एक्सटेंड कराना पड़ता. दैट इज सॉर्ट ऑफ अ रिप ऑफ. सो वी फिगर्ड आउट कि यार अप्रूव्ड कंटेंट है, 5 का मैंने डेमो लिया, 5 का कंटेंट एनालाइज करने की कोशिश करी, समझा, and we realize it's the same thing. Of course it has to be, it's the approved content, all 5 of them the same content, but their packaging is different. Their marketing is different, their distribution networks are different, which causes difference in economics. किसी का कितने का है, किसी का कितने का है, किसी का कोई फीचर के साथ है, किसी का कोई फीचर के साथ. And for me, when I analyzed this, I figured Wiley is the perfect partner because of access till you pass. So the student knows कि ये घंटी नहीं है कि यार मेरे पेपर जो है वो बर्बाद हो जाएंगे या मेरा मटेरियल खराब हो जाएगा, because there's a time limit on this. Take your time. If you're not prepared, don't go for the exam. मैं भी personally यही चाहता हूँ. Go for the exam only when you're fully prepared. That's the point. I'll talk about this in a little bit more detail about going for the paper when you're prepared. इसकी बात करूंगा. But before I get there, let me talk about the fact कि अभी के लिए, if you want, I can show you what the test bank looks like. And by the way, the test bank is exactly designed like the CPA exam is, down to the color scheme, down to the font and the size and the way the clock works and everything. Okay, so it's virtually excellent and exactly representative of the CPA exam. But it'll take me 3 minutes to give you a walkthrough of the whole thing, but only if you're interested. If you're not interested, let's save some time, let's move ahead. Okay, if you're interested, let me know in the chat and I'll take you through the online test bank. Let me know, Ji. Are you interested? Do you want to take it up? Okay, thank you. Right, thank you. Yeah, okay. Sorry guys, that's just 4 people. It seems the rest of the 50 people don't want you to see the test bank. They don't want to see the test bank at all. I need more weight. I need at least 10-15 people to agree कि हाँ भाई टेस्ट बैंक देखना है, फिर तुम्हें दिखाऊं, वरना आगे बढ़े यार. तो लोग कह रहे हैं उन्होंने देख रखा है, ठीक है जी, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. अच्छा, बाकी लोग देखना चाहते हैं. ओके ओके, that's still not enough here. That's what 10 responses. Mancho, count करियो कितने लोग हैं Mancho who want to watch it. If it's just 10 people, no problem. There's more. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right, Ankit sir. Right. Okay. Okay. Right. Fine. There's more than that. There's enough people who want to watch it. Okay. So let's do it. Let's show everybody the test bank. Come on, show. Let's take them through it. Here's a look at the Wiley test bank. At random, I've chosen the subject regulation. On the home page, you're greeted by 3 choices and also a basic overview of your test bank completion, your practice exam completion, and also the flashcard completion. Let's start off by going to the test bank. As you can see, we start off with the topics distributed to us in 5 groups. Let's say you select the first part. You can then further divide each subtopic into even smaller topics. And then you can finally select, let's say I've taken up this particular topic, licensing and disciplinary systems. So there are 10 available questions from this. Let's say I want to launch 3. It says 6 minutes is the time I should take. Question 1. So I'm going to wing it this time. Let's guess it's A. Oh, I made a mistake. When I make a mistake, I need to understand what went wrong. Then I need to select the right choice and then figure out why is it the right choice. If I don't agree with the logic here, I should then flag the question like I already have. Let's move on to question 2. Select one at random. I got that right. Let's move on to the third one. I got that wrong. I do the same thing this time. When I get it wrong, I see if the logic is correct. Even in question 2, when you get it right, always see if you agree with the logic here. So let's say I'm done with this and I want to submit. So I save and quit. When I do this, it takes me to the results page where I can see and assess my overall performance. I can also see what was the correct choice and what I selected. I can then analyze what the reasons are, look at the explanations available to me, and determine if I want to keep this question where it is or if I want to flag it. Let's return back to the test bank. When you take up enough of these sessions, we can go to the metrics section where I can see what your performance level was like. So in this case, it's a bad case because we started off with 67% accuracy, but then it only declined. We can see that trend and we can also pull up the very first assessment that you chose. In fact, we can pull up pretty much all of your performance because the metrics section logs everything and it presents the number of custom assessments you've taken right here. You can also download the report. This actually is the basis on which we will judge your performance and then tell you if you're ready to take the exam or not. Then there is also the practice exam section where you're supposed to get 90% or more. We personally at EduMont prefer if you get 95. You can choose practice exam A or B, which are unknown questions, which are not questions you've seen before in the test bank, or you can choose an unlimited amount of practice exams from the test bank itself. And then you can begin the assessment. It's a 4 hours exam with a total of 84 questions. And you are to attempt it. And that's it. Thank you for watching. So there you just saw what the test bank looks like, right? You just saw, am I muted? Right. Okay, so you just saw what the test bank looks like, and you saw that there are 3 types of questions in the test bank. Questions that you get right, questions that you get wrong, and questions that you flag. तो इन्हीं 3 steps के basis पर या इन्हीं 3 types of questions के basis पर we've devised a plan, a study pattern that should work for you. Now, before I get into that, let me give you a general rule that I give to all my students, even if they're not doing CPA, if they're doing CMA or they're doing CFA or something else, you know. But as long as it's an American qualification, I always give this advice. For every 2 hours of self-study that you put in, structure it in such a way that you divide it into 2 parts in the ratio of 1:3. Yani ki 1/4, yani ki half an hour of the 2 hours needs to be spent in the book, in quickly revising the theory. The remaining hour and a half, the 75% of your time needs to be spent in the online test bank, in practicing, because that's where you really learn how to apply what you studied. That's where you really learn how to evaluate the options given in a question. That's where you learn the skills that will help you pass the CPA exam. Now, let me actually tell you what are the 5 steps using which you can actually move ahead, right? Let's move ahead and let's look at how do you prepare for the CPA exam. What are the 5 steps that you can follow that will help you become a CPA in your first attempt. And by the way, this is also our business promise. So even if you falter anywhere in this particular process, we'll make sure you stick to it using our processes, using our internal controls, using our control devices, कि आप ये 5 steps follow करते रहो. अगर आप कहीं छोड़ भी दोगे तो हम उससे करवाएंगे, and then we'll make sure you pass in one attempt. But I'll talk about our thing later. Let's talk about you. आपकी मेहनत का जो हिस्सा है, जो आपका काम है, वो क्या है? Step 1 is to do all of the MCQs. It sounds obvious, but when you're doing step 1, there is a general rule you have to follow, and a lot of people in India don't. स्टेप 1 जब हम कर रहे होते हैं तो हम आमतौर पे क्या करते हैं, अगर हम क्वेश्चंस करते हैं और वो गलत हो जाते हैं तो स्टूडेंट ईगो हर्ट हो जाती है. सो वी इंस्टेंटली रीलॉन्च द क्वेश्चन एंड दिस टाइम वी मार्क इट करेक्टली, सेइंग कि अब तो हमें पता चल गया क्या आंसर है, एंड देन वी मूव अहेड. दैट्स द वर्स्ट थिंग टू डू फॉर योर प्रिपरेशन. डोंट डू इट. व्हेन यू आर डूइंग स्टेप 1, हैव इंटेलेक्चुअल ऑनेस्टी. शो इंटेलेक्चुअल ऑनेस्टी. अगर आता है तो आता है और अगर नहीं आता तो नहीं आता है. सही है तो सही है, गलत है तो इनकरेक्ट के फिल्टर में पड़े रहने दो. Don't change it. Speaking of which, then move on to step 2. So once you've done the entire course from chapter 1 to chapter 7, or whatever 5 sections of the chapter 5 1, section 1 say section 5, whatever, do the full syllabus, right? Once you're done with the full syllabus and you've done all of the questions, you'll have like a 50-60% accuracy. Nothing great, this 50-60, but you know what, वो 50-60% जो आपने अब कर लिया ना, वो आपका सही हो गया. That's the portion that you got in one go. You just took the classes on the weekend, quickly revised the book, and you got it right. The remaining 40% that you didn't get right, these are the things we actually have to prepare for. ये हैं जिसके लिए स्पेशल एफर्ट लगेगा, पर्सनलाइज्ड अटेंशन भी लगेगी. आपको हो सकता है फैकल्टी से बात करनी पड़े, जूम पे कनेक्ट करना पड़े, स्क्रीन शेयर करनी पड़े. That is the point. But do that work in step 2. Try and correct your errors. Go through the wily content, go through the hard books. By the way it's structured is, जब आप classes ले रहे हो, we'll give you smaller notes, class notes, easier to flip, easier to use. But when you're doing step 2, when you're going through the wily material, which is the bigger books, there you start to see the details. और इस बार क्योंकि क्वेश्चन में पहले गलती हो चुकी है और आप सुधारने के लिए आए हो यहाँ, तो पढ़ते हुए समझ भी ज्यादा आएगा, रिकॉल वैल्यू भी ज्यादा होगी. That is the idea. And then when you're done with step 2 with correcting your incorrect errors, 95 के करीब accuracy आ जाएगी. 5% ना अभी भी अटक जाएगा, अभी भी अटकेगा. ये वो क्वेश्चंस है जो एक बार, दो बार, तीन बार, बार बार गलत हो रहे हैं. These questions are getting wrong constantly. These are those dark areas of knowledge where these gaps should not have existed. Knowledge should have existed instead. These are the things that need to be corrected. These are the things for which special effort has to be really put in. एंड ये सबके अलग अलग होंगे, क्योंकि होता यही है कि कभी कॉलेज में क्लास थी जो मिस हो गई और वो कभी उसका टॉपिक ही बन नहीं पाया, रिलेट ही नहीं हो पाया, कभी ढंग से समझ ही नहीं आया, या वो एक एग्जाम था जिसमें मेरे कम नंबर आए थे, मेरे को सब्जेक्ट से डर लगता है. सबके अपने अपने स्पेसिफिक एरियाज होते हैं. एंड दैट्स व्हाट वी आर रियली ट्राइंग टू डिस्कवर. व्हेन यू आर एट स्टेप 3, यू आर एट योर पीक. नाउ यू नो व्हाट यू नो एंड व्हाट यू डोंट नो. व्हाटएवर यू डोंट नो, मैं बैठा हूं यार, हमारी पूरी टीम बैठी है. That's what we're here for. That again is something we will get into detail with you on an individual one-on-one basis. Send in a snapshot of your query. Send in an email. Send in a WhatsApp message if you want. Talk to the person on the phone. Connect with your faculty via video call. Whatever works for you. Get it done. When you're done with the first 3 steps, you will be done with 100% of the MCQs. And you'll have 100% accuracy too. Then go for step 4, which is TBSs. This is another thing people make a mistake out of. आमतौर पे इंडियन स्टूडेंट क्या करता है, और अगर मैं आपको नहीं पता था तो आप भी यही करते. हम पहले चैप्टर 1 पढ़ लेंगे, फिर उसके एमसीक्यूज कर लेंगे और उसके बाद उसके टीबीएस खोल लेंगे. और टीबीएस होंगे नहीं बस. क्यों नहीं होंगे? बिकॉज इट्स अ टास्क. टास्क करने के लिए सिर्फ चैप्टर 1 पढ़ा इज नॉट इनफ. यू नीड द होल सब्जेक्ट. दैट्स व्हाई व्हेन यू आर अ मास्टर्स एट द एमसीक्यूज, when you've mastered the art of solving MCQ questions, because the whole content tied in together, you have 100% accuracy, then move on to TBSs. Otherwise you'll go into a bad rut and you start to feel demotivated. मजा नहीं आएगा, मैंने टीबीएस करने की कोशिश करी यार, वो तो हुए नहीं, क्योंकि उस समय सिर्फ चैप्टर 1 पढ़ा था ना। टीबीएस में सिर्फ चैप्टर 1 नहीं है, चैप्टर 1 का भी है, फिर 4 का भी है, फिर 6 का भी है। It's a mix of everything, 2-3 concepts from different areas coming together to make one question. That's the TBS. So करने के लिए समझ चाहिए, समझ पहले बनानी पड़ती है। Now TBSs कैसे करोगे? Same 3 steps. Do all of the TBSs once. The things you get incorrect, correct them later, not instantly, थोड़ी देर बाद। And then जो चीजें बार बार अटक रही हैं, फ्लैग कर रखी हैं, उनके ऊपर फोकस करेंगे। And finally, when you're done with step 4, you'll be done with the entire test bank. It's finished, it's over. तैयारी कंप्लीट हो गई। Step 5 तैयारी को बढ़ावा देने के लिए नहीं है। Step 5 is actually to help you understand what it takes to sit for a 4-hour exam without a break, thinking about the exam and organizing your time accordingly. Step 5 is mock exams. Get a 95% accuracy in the mock exams. I can write it on a piece of paper. You will pass the CPA exam in one attempt. चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, चाहे पेपर छूट जाए, चाहे इतना डिफिकल्ट हो के समझ ही नहीं आ रहा क्या करना है, कुछ भी हो जाए, you will pass the CPA exam, I promise you. But that's the 5 steps you have to go through. Now, just telling you these 5 steps is not going to help you become a CPA in one attempt. We have to also enforce it. We have to make sure you do it. So I'll tell you, here are 3 things that we do. Let's move on to the next slide, Manshu. Here are 3 things that we do that actually make you exam ready, that actually get you to the point where you are prepared to take up the exam. Number 1 is, of course, our classes, live chalk and talk classes, concept classes. By the way, these are online, but these are not boring PDF PPT classes. Even our boring PDF PPT class is not really that boring because it's different. But this is not good enough to study. पढ़ने के लिए सही रास्ता अभी भी वही है जो बचपन से आज तक चलता आया, which is having a teacher on a board teaching. That's the point. It has to be chalk and talk. जो भी इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें हैं बोर्ड पे लिखो, और जो भी बढ़िया बातें हैं स्टूडेंट और हम मिलकर करें, टॉक। That's the idea. That's why I encourage you. Chat में मैसेज डालो, हाँ करो. That's the point. So the more you interact, the more likely you are to be engaged. The more you are engaged, the more you'll understand. And that's the point. Despite it being an online class, we've taken out all of the bugs that exist in an online class. It's no longer a boring, uninteresting class. It's super interesting. It's active. In fact, if you want, why don't you come tomorrow? Take a demo. हर सैटरडे संडे को सुबह 10:30 से 2:30 तक 4-4 घंटे के हमारे सेशन होते हैं। तो कल संडे है, आ जाओ। Himanshu, there's a poll. Let's release that for everybody. If you're interested, show up for class tomorrow. It's free, it's complimentary. Take a look. See how we study. See how you would study in the future. There you are. Because seeing is believing, right? So see it and then believe it. Do we have our responses? 80%. So Swaroop is asking, is it better to watch the sessions, the entire sessions, and then go through the MCQs? No, it should be chapter wise, yeah. In fact, if you want, it should be subtopic wise. क्योंकि सारी इंफॉर्मेशन इकट्ठे स्वरूप कैसे मेंटेन करोगे यार दिमाग में, दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम ना। तो एक एक बिट साइज, बाइट साइज लेसन, बिट बाय बिट, वन स्टेप एट अ टाइम। तो चैप्टर 1 उठाओ, चैप्टर 1 की क्लास देख के चैप्टर 1 के क्वेश्चंस करो, दैट्स द आइडिया। ओके, ऑलराइट। डू वी हैव आवर रिस्पांसेस बाय द वे? बथेरा यार, हम फ्री में बुला रहे हैं, किसको वोट करना है करो, नहीं करना मत करो। चलो बंद करते हैं इसको, आगे बढ़ते हैं। यू वेलकम स्वरूप। चलो बंद करो, चलो लेट्स जस्ट क्लोज इट। Close the results. I don't want to see them on the screen. Okay, cool. So if that's the 78% of the people that voted want to be part of the class tomorrow, so I'll be happy to have you there. I'll be glad. But with that being said, the ones who are not available, I understand. Maybe you have commitments or whatever, and you're not available. तो कोई नहीं, next week आ जाओ. Not a problem. This happens every week, and it's not a demo class. It's an actual class that I'm inviting you to. जो मेरे actually paid up students हैं, जो अभी अपने पेपर की तैयारी कर रहे हैं, आगे जाके एग्जाम दे रहे हैं, वो लोग उस क्लास में आ रहे हैं। नॉर्मल क्लास है। एंड व्हेन यू जॉइन इन, इट्स प्रोबेबली लाइकली कि आप चैप्टर के बीच में होंगे तो सब कुछ नहीं भी शायद समझ आएगा, बट यू विल गेट अ फील फॉर द एटमॉस्फेयर You'll understand the sort of discussions we're having there. That's the point. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's also talk about the OTB class, the online test bank class that we do every Tuesday and Thursday, late at night from 10 to 11. You're probably wondering, itni raat ko kya point hai class karne ka? I'll tell you, yaar. That's because most of our audience is working. 95% of the EduMont audience is working. तो खाली तो बैठते ही नहीं ना, ट्यूसडे और वेंसडे को और थर्सडे को दिन में थोड़ी मिलेगा कोई. So everybody is available only after office is done. And office and dinner are usually done by 10 for most of the folks. So 10 to 11. Take out this 1 hour. Let's sit. Let me actually show you what it takes to solve the MCQs. I'll release a question. You take a stab at it, attempt it. Then I'll tell you why it took you 5 minutes to go through this particular question and solve it. And how can you solve it in 2.5 minutes? What is the trick? What are the tips? What will make you better at it? Because just telling you to spend 75% of your time in the online test bank is not enough. Yeah, we have to show you how to. And here's another key differentiator, which you will find बाकी institutes में नहीं है. कह कुछ institutes तो कह ही नहीं रहे कि हम देते हैं OTB class, कुछ कह रहे हम देते नहीं है, लेकिन कभी दे दी कभी नहीं दी. हमारे यहाँ it is in the routine. You know why? Because I wanted this way. Saturday Sunday को क्लास लेने के बाद Monday को छुट्टी है, but Tuesday को फिर क्लास है ना, Wednesday को छुट्टी है, but Thursday को फिर क्लास है, Friday को छुट्टी है, but Saturday को फिर क्लास है. So around the week we'll keep in touch with you. Like I said, हमें enforce कराने पड़ते हैं 5 steps. We have to keep in touch with you. Last thing that we do is truly unique. We're the only in India doing it. Is the safety net system. What does this mean? That means our staff will follow up with you and find out कहाँ तक काम किया आपने. And before you actually go and take up an exam, before you pay for an exam's fee, we'll say, hold on, get yourself a faculty's approval. Let the faculty approve it. And that's what's going to happen. You and I, quite literally, you and I are supposed to connect before you pay your exam fee and sit over your test bank. Metric section दिखाया था ना मैंने test bank में, वो सिर्फ देखने के लिए नहीं है, वो reports हैं. वहां से actually पता चल जाएगा क्या level of accuracy है किसकी और किस topic में क्या strength है. And that's what we do. We analyze in depth the whole preparation that you've done. And उस केस में if you are done, if you're prepared, I'll tell you, go ahead, you have my blessings. जाओ पेपर दे आओ, पास हो गए, मैं साथ हूं. And if not, I'll tell you, 2 हफ्ता पेपर डिले करो, ये 3 टॉपिक कमजोर हैं, कुछ एडिशनल रीडिंग दे रहा हूं, कुछ क्वेश्चंस दे रहा हूं, इनको कर लो, इनको करके ही पेपर देना. Now you tell me which is better. A student blindly going, submitting fee and thinking they're prepared and then failing the exam, or somebody who's a pro at it, actually looking at it, checking it, and then moving ahead. And let me tell you, पांचों के पांचों जो approved content providers है ना, पांचों में ये metric section किसी ना किसी नाम से exist करता है. This functionality already existed. The thing is, nobody really cares to tell you about it. Nobody really cares to check about it. Nobody really cares to go through your test bank. कि आपने फीस दे दी है, वह पेपर दो ना दो आपके ऊपर है यार, अपने आप देखो. Not at EduMont. That's the thing. Our entire branding, our entire marketing is based around the idea of become a CPA in 1 attempt. Because that's what we offer. That's the guarantee we give. मैं और कोई गारंटी नहीं दूंगा, पर एक ये गारंटी जरूर दूंगा. If you're an EduMont student and you follow my process and I give you approval, you will pass the CPA exam. There is no chance you will fail. And I've seen it happen. Even in cases जहां थोड़ी शेकी होगी प्रिपरेशन, तबीयत खराब थी पेपर देते हुए बंदे की, .75 आए, क्योंकि कुछ 2 क्वेश्चंस लास्ट के TBSs छूट गए उसके, तो वो भी .75 आए. ऐसा कभी नहीं हुआ किसी भी केस में कि मैंने अप्रूवल दे दिया और स्टूडेंट उसके बाद फेल हो गया. Because I'm going to hold you up to that 95% standard. And when I do, you will be prepared for the exam. Not only will you be prepared, you'll have a good shot of getting good marks. And that's why go online, check on our social media, yaar. Look at the scores our people are getting. घटिया स्कोर किसी का नहीं है, इक्का दुक्का मिलता कोई 75 वाला. बाकी इंस्टीट्यूट के बंदे तो फिर क्या ही कहें, जो है सो है. That's why. That's the 3 things we do and make you exam ready. Now let's move ahead, Himanshu. Let's also talk about one more thing here, which is जो आपकी स्टूडेंट की जर्नी होती है ना, as a student you have a 6-step journey. So to finally become a CPA and getting placed actually requires considerable amount of time and effort. Now, what is this considerable amount of effort and what is this time? I'll tell you. But before I do, let me take you through the journey itself. Step 1 is to start by getting evaluated, figuring out by what are my credits, how many credits do I have, We'll send you the right advice. We'll help you in this process. We'll help you with every process, in fact, in this entire 6-step journey. And with our cooperation, with your effort, we'll clear through each one of these. First is getting evaluated, knowing कि आपके कितने points बनते हैं, and then based on that, starting your training and studying, and then from there applying for your candidature with NASBA, and from there scheduling your exams and passing these exams, and after that getting your CPA license and finally getting placed. And in each one of these steps, our team will assist you down to a T about everything, except for some things that we can't do for you. For example, only you can go get your transcripts. We are not legally authorized to, but that's the only thing really. इसके अलावा बाकी सब कुछ we'll tell you. कहाँ से अप्लाई करना है, कौन सा फॉर्म भरना है, उसमें क्या डॉक्यूमेंट्स जाएंगे, कौन सी इवैल्यूएशन एजेंसी चूज करनी है, स्टेट बोर्ड के साथ क्या कम्युनिकेशन करनी है, एग्जाम कौन सा पहला शेड्यूल करना है, कौन सा बाद का. विल टेल यू द फुल थिंग. शेड्यूल करने के बाद, पास होने के बाद, अब लाइसेंस अप्लाई करना है, उसके लिए एक्सपीरियंस वेरीफाई होना होता है. एक्सपीरियंस वेरिफिकेशन हम करके देंगे. आई विल साइन ऑफ ऑन योर लेटर. द होल प्रोसेस आई विल हेल्प यू विद. आवर टीम विल हेल्प यू विद. एवरीबडी इज देयर एक्सेप्ट फॉर वन थिंग. ये लास्ट का जो पॉइंट है ना, get placed and dominate the world, this you will have to do on your own. And don't get me wrong, let me try and explain to you what am I saying. There are institutes out there that are basically saying हम placement guarantee देते हैं, and जो inexperienced होते हैं लोग वो मान भी जाते हैं कि guarantee है. But here's the deal, ask that institute and its counselors कि यार अगर KPMG में तुमने मेरी इंटरव्यू करवाई और KPMG ने मुझे रिजेक्ट कर दिया, तो तुम्हारे पास कोई बंदूक है या कोई चाबी है जो तुम लगाओगे और KPMG फिर भी मुझे नौकरी पे ले लेगा आफ्टर माय रिजेक्शन? क्या मुझे इंटरव्यू नहीं देनी होगी? वो कहेंगे नहीं नहीं सर ऐसा नहीं है, बट इतनी नौकरियां ना मार्केट में कि कहीं ना कहीं आपकी लगी जाएगी. तो बॉस अब समझो इस चीज को ना प्लेसमेंट अश्योरेंस कहते हैं, इसे प्लेसमेंट गारंटी नहीं कहते. एंड आई ऑफर अ प्लेसमेंट अश्योरेंस. इतनी नौकरियां हैं बाहर, कहीं ना कहीं एब्जॉर्ब हो जाओगे, इसकी गारंटी है. पर एक चीज प्लीज समझो, इंटरव्यू आपको देनी है. नाउ लेट्स टेक इट अ स्टेप फर्दर. इंटरव्यू के अंदर जो जो क्वेश्चंस हैं और किस तरीके के आंसर्स होने चाहिए, वील हेल्प यू विद दैट. आपका जो सीवी है वो लेटेस्ट ATS सिस्टम के बेसिस पे बना हुआ हो, वील हेल्प यू विद दैट. व्हाट डू यू डू when you're approaching a certain type of person at a certain type of interview, we'll tell you. We'll help you with the whole process. But please know, you'll go give the interview, and when you do, you'll be the one who'll have this opportunity. Nobody else will. You will have it. That's the point. Okay? So don't let anybody tell you कि हमारी placement guarantee है, and don't let anybody say कि मैंने इसको place करा दिया. तुमने नहीं करा, तुमने सिर्फ रेफरल दिया, तुमने HR को बोला इससे बात कर लो. The candidate passed the interview. Let's not hog down their credit. Okay? That's how I look at it. All right? With that being said, let's move on to the next slide. And let's talk about the one thing that I know is going to confuse a ton of people, eligibility. And by the way, this is the last thing I'm going to discuss. इसके बाद fees, and that's it. Then let's open up for Q&A. आप यहाँ पे हो, इतने टाइम से मेरे साथ हो, thank you so much. I'm going to answer all your questions now in just about 5 minutes. Before I do, let me talk about eligibility and the fee. पहले eligibility की बात करते हैं. So as far as the eligibility is concerned, actually तो the rule is you need 120 credits to appear for your CPA exam, and you need 150 credits to get your CPA license. Now, how do I get 120 credits? How do I get 150 credits? So usually for every year of university education, you'll get about 30 credits. So if you've done a graduation, that's for 3 years, you get 90 credits. And if you've done a graduation plus an MBA on top of it, you'll get 90 plus 60, 150 credits. 2 साल की MBA होगी ना. अगर आपने MBA नहीं करी, MCOM करी, वो 2 साल की थी, तो भी आपको 60 क्रेडिट्स मिल जाएंगे. अगर आपने CA कर रखी है, CS कर रखी है, ICWA कर रखी है, तो भी 60 क्रेडिट्स मिल जाएंगे. और अगर इनके सिर्फ इंटर हो रखे हैं तो 30-30 मिलेंगे आपको. CA इंटर के 30, CS इंटर के 30, ICWA इंटर के या CA में जिसको बोलते हैं इंडिया में उसके 30. That's the idea. So you'll get credits accordingly. Now, I'm sure some of you are thinking, यार I'm just a graduate, मेरे तो 90 क्रेडिट्स हैं, तो क्या मैं एलिजिबल नहीं हूँ एग्जाम देने के लिए? नहीं नहीं, परेशान नहीं हो, रुको. पहली चीज तो if you're from commerce, there's a very good chance you qualify for an exception rule. The exception rule is if you have 8 plus accounting, business and economics subject specific credits, ABE, ABE credits, accounting, business, economics. अगर ये already हैं आपके पास 8 plus, then even with 90 you are fully eligible to take up the CPA exam. No problem. एंड इफ फॉर वट एवर रीजन, या फिर यू कम फ्रॉम अ साइंस बैकग्राउंड, तो आपके ए बी ही क्रेडिट्स पूरे नहीं होंगे. डोंट वरी, देर आर ब्रिज कोर्सेज अवेलेबल इन इंडिया दैट यू कैन जस्ट एनरोल इन एंड गिव अ promissory note to the state board कि यार from the date of passing my first CPA exam, within 18 months from that date I will give you the completed coursework. तो 1 year का कोर्स करने के लिए ऑलमोस्ट 2 years का टाइम मिल जाता है. And you don't have to do it right now, you can do it next year after done with your 4 CPA exams. So bridge courses are also a way of hedging this eligibility. Now with that being said, actually अपनी eligibility समझ पाना या उसको जान पाना मुश्किल हो जाता है, बिकॉज यूएस में 50 स्टेट्स हैं और 5 टेरिटरीज हैं, 55 डिफरेंट स्टेट बोर्ड्स हो गए, और हर स्टेट बोर्ड ने अपने अपने वेरिएशन बना रखे हैं रूल्स के. तो कॉम्प्लिकेशन बहुत एनॉर्मस हो जाती है. एंड इफ आई वर टू स्टार्ट एक्सप्लेनिंग देम, तो ये 1 घंटे का सेशन छोड़ो, 4 दिन की ट्रेनिंग इसी में निकल जाएगी. सो इंस्टेड लेट मी गिव यू अ सोल्यूशन दैट वर्क्स फॉर एवरीबॉडी. Why don't you send a copy of your mark sheets, जो भी कोर्सेज आपने कर रखे हैं ना, send a copy of your mark sheets to academics@edumontclasses.com. सौरभ ने डाल दिया चैट में ऑलरेडी, थैंक यू सौरभ. academics@edumontclasses.com पे send a copy of your mark sheets. What we'll do is essentially we'll take this information that you're giving us and share it with our Wiley US team, because we're partnered with them. And the Wiley US team, led by Chris, is the team that sits actually pretty close to the actual NASBA office. So they're actually on American soil. They know what's happening there. And they can actually tell you, estimate in exact number, what is your actual credits, how many credits need to be delivered today, and how many credits can be delivered later, and how many credits are you short, if any. They can give you the full detail. Now, here's a caveat. आमतौर पे if you get your eligibility checked by any other institute in India, they can give it to you in 30 minutes. Faster than Domino's would deliver a pizza, they will deliver your eligibility. That's because they're getting it checked here locally in India. We're not doing that. We're sending it to US. तो 24 घंटे का हमको मिनिमम प्रोसेसिंग टाइम देना, क्योंकि दिन और रात का फर्क है यूएस और इंडिया में. हम भेजेंगे, वो देखेंगे, कैलकुलेट करके रिपोर्ट हमें भेजेंगे, फिर हम आपको बताएंगे. So give us 24 hours. But what I'm telling you is, if you wait for those 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever time it takes, a day or two, the eligibility report we will be sending to you is the most relevant, most reliable eligibility in the entire Asia Pacific region. Not just in India, entire Asia Pacific. इससे ज्यादा reliable eligibility नहीं होगी. क्यों? Because it comes with a guarantee that if this eligibility is proven wrong, we will refund your entire fee. We will. EduMont plus Wiley will. That's the money back guarantee we give on our eligibilities. ये तभी पॉसिबल अगर प्रोसेसिंग आराम से ठंडे मन से सही आदमी करे या सही टीम करे. उसके लिए थोड़ा सा टाइम देना, जो आएगी चीज लेकिन पुख्ता होगी. That is the point. Okay, let's move on to the last slide. Let's talk about the fee. The last thing that needs to be discussed, but definitely and certainly not the least. Here's the deal. आमतौर पे you will notice, especially for courses, कि course usually जो उसकी training वगैरह expensive होती है, but exams वो सस्ते होते हैं. चाहे कोई भी certification हो, CA हो, CAT हो, कुछ भी हो, you know. But in our case, in CPA, things are actually different. The training is expensive. The exams are even more expensive. And that's the point. That's why you can't really fail. You can't afford to fail a CPA exam. And that's why I tell you, go for approved content. Yeah, don't go for cheaper content. क्योंकि वो 10-15 हजार बचाने के चक्कर में एक एग्जाम भी अगर फेल हो गया ना, एक भी अगर, मोटा झटका है. Let me tell you what is the actual cost. Firstly, इतना तो देख ही लिया होगा भाई, गोला भी बन रखा है उसपे, 3.5 लाख का खर्चा है. By the way, we've converted everything using the most relevant अभी का weighted average exchange rate, जो 29.4 का रेट था, which is 81.75. ये भी छोटा स्कैम चल रहा है मार्केट में. कुछ लोगों की वेबसाइट्स, कुछ लोगों की प्रेजेंटेशंस पुराना रेट 75 का लगा के घूम रहे हैं अभी भी. तो you will suddenly think कि ये तो यार, ये इसका तो 10,000 कम आ रहा है. कम नहीं आ रहा है, कम नहीं आ रहा है, उसने एक्सचेंज रेट गलत लगाया है. So use the latest exchange rate, right? That's number one. Number two, try and understand everything as paid in dollars. So when you pay in dollars, it's already 81.75 times the money's value, right? $500 है तो 500 into 81.75 हो जाता ना अपने आप ही. हमारे लिए तो महंगा ही पड़ता. Now with that being said, you don't actually need the 3,50,000 in your pockets right now. You have to only be able to calculate and plan the cash flow. If you can do that much, enough, then you're in a position to take up the CPA exam. Now, two components हैं Component A is study material and training and coaching and all of that good stuff. And component 2 is actually the exam related expenses, जो एग्जाम के खर्चे जो आपने यूएस गवर्नमेंट को पे करने, तो इसमें ना नेगोशिएशन है, ना इसमें बार्गेनिंग है, ना इसमें ऑप्शन है, ये सारे ही पे होना है, बट इकट्ठे नहीं पे होना, बिट्स एंड पीसेस में होना है. So 1 month after enrolling with us, you start to feel, yeah, I'm in a position to take up the exam. Go ahead, pay your $225, which is the 18,000 rupees that you pay. After you pay that 18,000, it will take about 4 to 6 weeks for your evaluation report to come to you. तो वो 4 to 6 weeks में कुछ नहीं पे होना, वो वेटिंग पीरियड. जैसी वैल्यूएशन रिपोर्ट आ जाती है आपके पास, देन यू गेट टू पे योर वन टाइम रजिस्ट्रेशन, एसबीआई रजिस्ट्रेशन फी ऑफ $170. ये अगेन एवरेज वैल्यू 150 भी हो जाती है कुछ केसेस में, बट लेट्स से 13,000 के करीब ये है. So now about 30,000 gets taken off here. The remaining is whatever 2,10,000 is the cost for the exams, जिसमें कुछ एनटीएस एप्लीकेशन की फीस है, कुछ एग्जाम सेक्शंस की फीस है, कुछ इंटरनेशनल टेस्टिंग की फीस है, बट ये ऐसे इकट्ठे नहीं पे होगी. एक्चुअली ऑन एन एवरेज अगर बात करूं तो 55,000 पर एग्जाम बैठेगा आपका, एंड दैट 55,000 यू विल पे एज यू प्रोग्रेस फॉर ईच एग्जाम. सो होगा ये कि आफ्टर एन इवैल्यूएशन कम्स इन एंड यू अप्लाई फॉर एन एसबीआई, यू पे फॉर द फर्स्ट एग्जाम एंड देन यू टेक दैट एग्जाम एंड यू पास दैट एग्जाम. तो पढ़ने में 1-2 महीना लगेगा फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ गेटिंग योर इवैल्यूएशन, फिर रिजल्ट आने में 15 दिन और. देन यू स्टार्ट प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर योर सेकंड पेपर. It will take you 2 months, 2.5 months to prepare for your second exam. Then you pay the 55K for the second exam. Then its result comes in 15 days more. And then again you study for 2.5, 3 months. And then you give the third exam fee. And then you pass it. And then you pay the fourth. You see my point? It's not supposed to be कि ये लो यार 2.5 लाख रुपए इकट्ठे. It's supposed to be bits and pieces. जो एग्जाम के लिए तैयार हो उसी की फीस दो, दूसरे की मत दो. तो pay it in pieces. And then comes along category A, the smaller amount, but also just as relevant. The first payment that actually goes out of your accounts is the payment for the study material, the course provider, enrollment with us, our guidance and counseling, and of course, our supplementary study materials as well. Your EduMont notes, EduMont LMS, EduMont recordings, all of that. So all in all, right now, as it happens to be, वैसे our listed price is 1,24,000, but we're offering discounts. So we're actually at a price of 99,000. Now we're doing this on purpose. Why? Because we want to be more competitive. क्यों? I'll tell you. If you go to other approved partners ना, जो approved content देते हैं, तो वो 1,10,000, 1,09,000 ऐसे शुरू करते हैं. बार्गेनिंग करके भी 1,09,000, 1,10,000 के आसपास आते हैं. ठीक है? So approved content थोड़ा महंगा पड़ता है. And if you go to अनअप्रूव्ड कंटेंट प्रोवाइडर, तो वो बिल्कुल ही गिरे हुए होते हैं, तो वो किसी भी प्राइस पे दे देते हैं. तो उनका ये सिस्टम है, उनकी कोई कॉस्ट तो है नहीं, तो प्राइस ही तो है. तो शुरू करते हैं 1,08,000 से, फिर नेगोशिएट करते करते करते, अगर मेरा नाम ले लो वैसे कि एड्यूमॉन्ट से होके आए हैं, तो अपने आप गिर जाता है, वो 75 तक भी आ जाते हैं. तो वी आर ऑफरिंग प्राइस ऑफ 99, in which we are giving you approved CPA content with unlimited access. Along with that, the key announcement of today was free 2024 CPA materials. That's damn right. That is the case. Along with that, when you enroll now to take up your audit exam, we'll give you the 2024 content for free. Now that's a package. And then when it comes to our fees, even that is payable using no cost EMIs. You don't have to pay it all at once. Pay it in bits and pieces as your cash flow allows, and no cost pay. So our tenures start from 3 months and go up to 12 months. 3, 6, 9, 12. Charo tenures available hai. And as it happens to be, like I said, it's no cost. So zero interest. You only pay your principal amount. There is no interest being charged upon to you. That's the idea. So all in all, the cash flow is pretty much manageable if you understand how the cash will flow. All right. Now that's it. That's all there is from my side. Himanshu, let's release the exit poll. And let's start also answering questions from everybody. So एक exit poll भी release कर दो for everybody. So guys, fill in the exit poll. Do let me know how you found the session so far, and do let us know what your interests are. Are you interested in doing CPA or not? We'll reach out to you accordingly. हम भी बिना वजह पीछे क्यों पड़े, है कि नहीं? So that's the idea. Feel free to let us know. And with that being said, also let's open up for Q&A. Let me answer all your questions. By the way, our contact details are available on this slide, so you're in a position to see and reach out to us if and as and when needed. So Swaroop is asking, should we watch the OTP classes first and then start solving questions? ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. सो सैटरडे संडे क्लास का मंडे को छुट्टी है, तो मंडे को आराम थोड़ी करना है, मंडे को प्रैक्टिस करनी है ना। मंडे को भी करो, ट्यूसडे की क्लास में जैसे 2 आवर्स अगर पुट करो 1 घंटे की क्लास के लिए ट्यूसडे को, तो सब्सटीट्यूट हो गया। तो ट्यूसडे की 1 आवर की क्लास लो और उससे समझो ये कैसे सॉल्व करते हैं, जो लोग क्वालिफाई हो गए हैं, जो सीपीए बन गए हैं, वो कैसे सॉल्व कर रहे हैं ये। दैट्स द आइडिया एंड दैट्स इट। इट्स जस्ट गाइडेंस। आई एम नॉट सेइंग वो देखे बिना क्वेश्चंस बस सॉल्व करो, ऐसा नहीं है। You can do that. You can do your questions on your own. It's just going to help you improve your performance. That's all there is. It's just going to help you improve the way you think about concepts. That's it. That's all there is. Do we have a responses? How many percent people? 71 ही क्या अभी? बाकी लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? जल्दी वोट कर लो प्लीज। जल्दी वोट करो तो मैं क्यूएनए करूं, और अगर वोट नहीं है आपको करना और आपके क्यूएनए भी नहीं है कोई, तो फिर आप चलो जाओ, कोई दिक्कत नहीं। देन एंजॉय योर वीकेंड। I will see you in class tomorrow, and if you're not coming to class tomorrow, then good luck to you anyway, and maybe we will meet again. Let's start with the first question. Right?
Since I am in my last year of graduation, I will be done with 2024. So I will have to take up the audit paper with IT syllabus, right?
Yes. If you will complete your BCom in 24, then you will be a 24 candidate. तो फिर आप ऑडिट का पेपर 24 वाला ही दोगे, 23 वाला नहीं दे सकते। बट विद दैट बीइंग सेड, दैट्स टोटली कूल। दैट्स ओके। सब लोग जो उम्र में थोड़े छोटे हैं, आपकी उम्र के हैं, वो सभी इससे गुजरेंगे, तो घबराने की बात नहीं है। तेजस्विनी जी।
US graduation and post graduation are also less on remembering.
यस, वो कमेंट कर रहे हैं, तो आई डोंट थिंक दैट्स अ क्वेश्चन। इज देयर अ क्वेश्चन देयर? मेरे ख्याल एग्री कर रहे हैं। हाँ जी।
Will make any difference in the value of the US CPA degree after 2024 changes?
नो, इफ एनीथिंग इट शुड एक्चुअली इंक्रीज। ये किनका सवाल है? तो अंकित कुमार सर एक सवाल पूछ रहे हैं, वो पूछ रहे हैं कि विल द वैल्यू ऑफ सीपीए चेंज और इंक्रीज और डिक्रीज आफ्टर द 2024 कंटेंट चेंजेस? नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है। सो आई टेल यू, द 2024 कंटेंट चेंजेस आर एन एफर्ट टू ब्रिज द गैप। द शॉर्टेज जो हो रही है ना, उसमें उसको उसको कम, शॉर्टेज कम होए, अलीविएट होए, उसके लिए एफर्ट है। तो देर व्हाट दे डूइंग इज देर रिवाइजिंग द सिलेबस एंड मेकिंग इट मोर इंडस्ट्री रेलेवेंट, सो दैट मोर पीपल डू इट, and the more people do it, the more valuable it becomes eventually. So value decline नहीं होगी, actually value add होगी by giving you more relevant skill sets, more relevant information, more relevant insights. That's the idea. जी।
I am already in one of the big four,
Right.
and my fund will reimburse my CPA expenses.
Right.
However, they will share registration in somewhere in Jan 2024.
Right.
So how can I utilize this time till Jan?
So if your company will reimburse, you have to understand they will reimburse. You have to first pay and then they will reimburse. Reimbursement ऐसे ही चलती है, पहले आप पे करते हो, फिर आपको पैसे वापस मिलते हैं। तो वो रियम्बर्समेंट लिंक जब मर्जी भेजें, उससे फर्क क्या पड़ता है? यू कैन एनरोल टुडे एंड स्टार्ट योर जर्नी, एंड दैट्स द पॉइंट। एंड एनीवेज, इवन इफ दे रियम्बर्स, पहले तो पैसे आपको देने ही पड़ेंगे, फिर ही उसके बाद वो वापस आएंगे अकाउंट में। एंड उसमें भी फ्रॉम व्हाट आई नो, इफ यू आर इन अ बिग फोर दैट रियम्बर्सेस, आई नो दिस मच अबाउट द बिग फोर्स, बिकॉज़ अगेन आई टोल्ड यू, I'm ex EY. I know that they only reimburse if you successfully complete the exams. If you don't complete the exams, then there's no reimbursement. So think about that. I think you should start off your journey, not wait for your company to reimburse you. In fact, it should be this way कि आप अपना सब करके तैयार हो जाओ, and then when the company gives you the link in 24, you tell them, yeah, please reimburse me, and more importantly, I've already passed an exam or two. So that is a nice way to go into it. That's how I look at it. And don't waste your time. Like you said, you should utilize this time and prepare this for the subjects that are coming up. And हो सके तो अपना audit अभी दे दो 23 में, delay मत करो. Okay, let's move ahead. What's the next question?
Sign.
जी.
For evaluation, first we have to remember the subject name. So does CPA allow open book?
So CPA में क्या होता है ना, ओपन बुक नहीं होता पेपर, बट CPA में ना रिमेम्बरिंग का काम बड़ा कम है. So as such, there isn't a focus on you remembering the words in the book. It's more about understanding the key terms. तो आप अगर रिमेम्बरिंग से थोड़ा घबराते हो और उससे बचना चाहते हो, तो आप सही डिग्री पकड़ रहे हो, क्योंकि CPA is the only international level qualification that really has global accreditation, global value, and really has the ability to get you a career no matter where you are on the planet, and is the only qualification that doesn't rely on memory. Despite having all these qualities, memory उसमें सबसे least important है. So I think it's a good choice, but I hope I could understand your question a little bit more clearly. And if I haven't answered your question, feel free to put any whatever you want in the chat. डालो chat में क्या सवाल है. And in fact, chat में क्यों डालना है? Raise hand कर लो. Voice से बात कर लेते हैं ना. Let's just talk. Okay, Vikas, we've allowed you to talk. Please, Vikas, and you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Since you raised the hand, if you have a question. Okay, any other questions? Chat का उठा लो तब तक. विकास अभी अनम्यूट नहीं कर रहे हैं खुद को.
हेलो.
Hey विकास.
हेलो, गुड इवनिंग सर.
Hi, good evening.
सर एक्चुअली जैसे मैंने 2021 में मेरी पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन हुई थी, उसके बाद जस्ट मैं गवर्नमेंट एग्जाम्स की प्रिपरेशन कर रहा था, लाइक टीचिंग एग्जाम्स, बट
Okay.
वो मेरे क्लियर नहीं हो पाए. तो अब मेरे फ्रेंड ने सजेस्ट किया था सीपीए करने के लिए. तो सर क्या पॉसिबल है कि लाइक इसमें जैसे वो बता रहा था कि बट इसमें पढ़ना भी बहुत ज्यादा पड़ता है, कि लाइक बहुत ह्यूज सिलेबस है, उसने बुक्स वगैरह रेफर करी थी मुझे.
तो यही यही बात है, बट इसमें पढ़ने का तरीका क्या है वो डिपेंड करता है. हैज योर फ्रेंड क्लियर्ड एनी एग्जाम्स?
लाइक सर वो सीए करी थी उसने, उसी ने सजेस्ट किया था, बट वो बोल रहा था कि इसमें स्टडी करना पड़ेगा, लाइक जैसे मेरी नॉर्मल बैचलर्स और मास्टर्स हुई है दिल्ली
अच्छा
यूनिवर्सिटी
अच्छा,
से.
तो उन्होंने भी पेपर नहीं पास किया. तो मैं आपको बताता हूँ, एक्चुअली स्टडी तो करना ही पड़ता है यार. बिकॉज ऐसा कोई पेपर नहीं जिसमें पढ़ाई ना करनी पड़े और उसके बाद उससे पैकेज में इंक्रीमेंट आ जाए या उसमें लाइफ बेटर हो जाए. ऐसी कोई डिग्री नहीं होती. पढ़नी तो पड़ती है. फिर ऐसी डिग्री अगर हो तो उसको पढ़ना पड़ता है. बट इसमें पढ़ाई जो है ना वो वैसी नहीं है. लाइक आई टोल्ड यू, माय जनरल रूल, इसमें पढ़ाई ये नहीं कि किताबें लेके बैठे रहो, किताबें पढ़ते रहो. इसमें पढ़ाई ये है कि आपने आधा घंटे में थ्योरी रिवाइज करी, उसका 1.5 घंटा आपने ऑनलाइन टेस्ट बैंक में प्रैक्टिस करी. इसमें पढ़ाई उस तरीके की है जो थोड़ी प्रैक्टिकल है, हाथ से करके देखने वाली है. वैसी पढ़ाई नहीं है कि किताब लेके बैठे हुए हैं, उसको रटे जा रहे हैं, उसके नोट्स बनाए जा रहे हैं. वैसे नहीं होनी इसकी पढ़ाई. इनफैक्ट नोट्स बनाने ही नहीं पड़ेंगे. हम अपनी नोट्स की अलग से बुक देते हैं, इसीलिए देते हैं ताकि आप ना बनाओ. उसमें पहले ही हाईलाइटिंग और साथ में हैंड रिटन नोट्स सब देते हैं. एंड दैट्स द पॉइंट. वी डोंट वांट यू स्पेंडिंग टाइम विद द बुक्स इन ट्राइंग टू रोट लर्न द कंटेंट. वो नहीं है इसका पॉइंट. वी वांट यू टू प्रैक्टिस and learn the content by doing it with your own hands. You see my point? उस तरीके की पढ़ाई है, हैंड्स ऑन पढ़ाई है, किताबों वाली नहीं है इतनी. हाउ दैट
तो
मेक
सर
सेंस?
लाइक जैसे आप बोल रहे हो कि एक एग्जाम आप ही दे सकते हो आप ऑडिट का, तो लाइक जैसे मैं अगर अभी रजिस्ट्रेशन कराता हूँ तो इतने टाइम में पॉसिबल है उसकी प्रिपरेशन?
हाँ 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 बिल्कुल. अभी टाइम है ना. December 15 तक उसका एग्जाम दे सकते हो आप. तो December 15 तक एग्जाम तो तैयार हो ही जाएगा यार. बथेरा टाइम है, 4 एक महीने से ज्यादा ही है. तो दिक्कत थोड़ी है.
बट लाइक सर मेरी ग्रेजुएशन और पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन में ऑडिट का अराउंड एक भी सब्जेक्ट नहीं था.
कोई दिक्कत नहीं, कोई दिक्कत नहीं. मैं एक चीज बताऊं,
यस सर.
मेरे पास ऐसे भी लोग हैं जो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स हैं, 10 10 15 15 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है. उनकी और आपकी सिचुएशन सेम हो चुकी होती है. जब आप 15 साल इंडस्ट्री में काम कर लेते हो और किताबें छोड़ देते हो ना, साइड पे छोड़ देते हो, तो आप सब भूल चुके होते हो. आप बस वही याद होता है आपको जो आप आज काम में अपने रोजमर्रा के यूज कर रहे हो. तो उनकी भी यही होती है सिचुएशन. तो शुरू से ही शुरू करना होता है सबने, और हम भी शुरू से ही शुरू करते हैं. जब मैं ऑडिट पढ़ाऊंगा तो पहला जो सवाल है ना, व्हाट इज ऑडिट, वहां से शुरू करूंगा. और फिर वे टू डू ऑडिट, हाउ टू डू ऑडिट, ये सारी चीजें बाद में आएंगी. तो दैट्स हाउ इट इज. तो हम बेसिक से ही शुरू करेंगे, उससे घबराना नहीं बिल्कुल.
ओके सर, थैंक यू सर.
माय प्लेजर. एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस आई कैन आंसर? Okay. Hey Colin, you've got a question. Colin, you've unmuted yourself, but I can't really hear you. Okay. We can't really hear Colin there.
Sure.
Okay. Hey Shravan, what's your question?
Yeah, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yeah, my question is that, is there any ready reference to 2024 syllabus? Because I'm really interested to join 2022 syllabus because my MBA fourth semester is going to happen in December.
Okay.
So meanwhile, I want to go through that syllabus so I can ready with that, and then I
Yes.
can go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. So that's the point. We're going to start up with 2024, except for audit. which is going to be the 23 syllabus abhi. Everything else is going to be 24. And even
Okay.
the audit syllabus, if you don't clear it for whatever reason, you don't take up the exam this year, next year will be auto updated. That's the beauty of access till you pass. So we'll always keep giving you the updated content, the updated whatever sections that get added in will be available in printable form, and your test bank will get automatic updates over the year because it's a software. It can be updated over the internet. So
Okay.
that's the beauty of it. So you'll always have access whenever you join in, and it's not at all a problem.
If we'll join into December also, then I'll get updated content, right?
Yes, yes. अरे वो छोड़ो यार श्रवण, I'll tell you. अभी there are people who joined in 22
Hmm.
who have given 2 exams, 3 exams, but the fourth exam is pending.
Hmm.
So people in 22 are also going to be giving the exam in 24, and they might also need the updated content, so they will have it. And it's
Okay.
also possible there is somebody in 22 who hasn't given any exams at all, because
Okay.
whatever reason अपने अपने personal problems होते हैं, किसी को
Yes.
कुछ है कुछ है. So whatever reason they put their CPA preparation on hold for a while. Don't worry, when they come back to me in 24 or in 25, they'll have the 25 का updated content. That's the
Okay.
beauty of access till you pass. Till you become a CPA, you can always
Mhm.
come back to us and say, give me the latest content, give me the latest books. We're
Okay.
always in a position to help you.
तो मैं ये कह रहा था कि आपके एडुमन के पोर्टल पे कहीं ऐसा रेडी रेफरेंस है इसका सिलेबस का, सो मैं एक बार गो थ्रू कर लूं.
Syllabus का layout मिल तो जाएगा. I can
और
probably
रेडी
help you.
रेफरेंस.
But I'll tell you, ready reference अगर लेनी है तो, because for us, our books are proprietary. We don't pass them around. We only give access to people who've paid, of course, right?
Yes. Yes.
Pilferage हो जाएगी वरना,
Yes. Yes.
और कुछ हद तक हो भी रही है, तो we want to avoid that. So I'll tell you the right way actually. If I get what you're wanting to do, why don't you just Google the AICPA blueprint?
Okay.
वहां पे सारा सिलेबस है और सेक्शन वाइज उसकी डिटेल भी है कि किस सेक्शन में क्या टेस्टिंग होनी है.
Okay.
So that is
Okay.
actually a very good place to start and figure out किस इसका कोर्स और सिलेबस होता क्या है. And if you for some reason can't find the AICPA blueprint, reach out to us. We'll send it to you.
Okay, sure sir.
ऐसे गूगल पे
And
डालोगे ना तो मिल जाएगा.
ठीक है, मैं ट्राई करता हूँ. एंड ये 18 मंथ्स टाइम लैग था, उसको 30 कर दिया है, उस पर थोड़ा मेरा कंफ्यूजन है.
वो इसलिए कंफ्यूजन है क्योंकि कंफ्यूजन एक्चुअली एग्जिस्ट करती है. अभी क्या है कि
Okay.
NASBA ने 30 मंथ्स का एक्सटेंशन अप्रूव कर दिया, which is a central body. But you know how US is, right? It's not a democracy which is holding together, where the central body has more power than the state. जैसे इंडिया फॉर एग्जांपल, it's a coming together democracy. वहाँ अलग अलग स्टेट्स थी, इंडिपेंडेंट कंट्रीज थी, इकट्ठे हुई और यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका बनी.
Right.
सो वहां पे यही सिस्टम है कि स्टेट गवर्नमेंट हैव अ लॉट ऑफ पावर. तो अभी स्टेट बोर्ड्स वोट करेंगे जनवरी में, फिर पता
Okay.
चलेगा कि ये 30 मंथ्स एक्सटेंशन कितने स्टेट बोर्ड एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हैं और कितने नहीं कर रहे हैं.
नहीं कर
बाकी
रहा. Right.
most state boards will accept it. That's the general news
Good.
इंडस्ट्री जो थोड़ा सुनाई
But
देता है.
हमारा टारगेट रहेगा कि हम 18 मंथ से पहले पहले ही करें. Right.
नहीं, सो 18 मंथ्स की टाइमलाइन क्या मैं बता देता हूँ. 18 मंथ टाइमलाइन पहले जो होती थी वो ये होती थी कि फ्रॉम द डेट ऑफ पासिंग योर फर्स्ट CPA एग्जाम you have 18 months to pass the other 3.
Okay. I got
So
it.
if you, for example, take 6 months to prepare for the first one, then you still have six months each for the other 3. So it's actually a
Yes.
2-year timeline. That's
Yes,
how
yes.
it used to be. अब वो और भी बढ़ा रहे हैं उसको, 3-year timeline बना रहे हैं, 30 months का सबको एक एक एक्सटेंशन दे रहे हैं. हालांकि उतना टाइम नहीं लगता, एक बार पेपर पहला पास हो जाए तो धीरे धीरे करके निकलता जाता है.
Got it. So, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Okay, any other questions I can answer? Okay. Hey Kushal.
Hi, sir.
Hi, good evening. How can I help you?
My question is regarding the specialization subject in new course.
Okay.
So when do we have to choose the specialization subject? I mean, if I have not studied other 3 subjects yet, so how do I decide fourth one?
So specialization usually should be your last subject. You shouldn't give your specialization as the first exam. Nobody should give their specialization as the first exam. वो लास्ट होना
Right.
चाहिए. तो तब तक आप एक बार ऑडिट फार रैक तीनों पढ़ भी चुके हो और तीनों का पेपर भी पास कर चुके हो, तो थोड़ा ये भी पता चल जाता है मेरा इंटरेस्ट किस डायरेक्शन में जा रहा है, किसकी स्पेशलाइजेशन मेरे लिए अच्छी रहेगी. एंड देन बेस्ड ऑन दैट यू कैन चूज. तो स्पेशलाइजेशन का ये सिस्टम है, यू डोंट हैव टू डिक्लेयर इट एनीवेयर. ये तो आपके ऊपर है. अब आप फॉर एग्जांपल फोर्थ पेपर देते हो 24 में जाके, अप्रैल में या मार्च में या कहीं उसके भी आगे, तो आप जब फोर्थ पेपर देने जाओ तो आप बताओगे भी कौन सा पेपर देना है, उसकी फीस वगैरह पे करोगे, तो आप खुद ही उस समय बताओगे कि जी मैं BAR दे रहा हूँ, या मैं ये पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट पढ़ रहा हूँ, मैं ISC पढ़ रहा हूँ, या मैं TCP का पेपर दे रहा हूँ। तो तब आप सिलेक्ट करते हो और तब उसकी फीस पे करते हो ना। एज फार एज स्टडी मटेरियल इज कंसर्न, दैट अगेन whenever you elect, don't have to tell me today, whenever you elect, we will then provide you access for that particular subject. So वो हो सकता है अभी हो सकता है 6 महीने बाद हो सकता है 1 साल बाद हो। जब भी आप कहोगे you will get the access to study material, जब भी आप कहोगे you will get access to give the exam. That's the thing with CPA, it's entirely flexible, there is no date sheet, there is no timeline. It's up to you as a candidate. If you can do it in 1 year, do it in 1. If you can do it in 6 months, do it in 6. If you can do it in 2 years, do it in 2 years, no problem, no stress. And if you want to take the FAR exam first, or you want to take the audit exam first, or you want to take the reg exam first, it's your choice. It's entirely up to you. Now right now we're promoting audit, we're telling you to do audit because audit is changing, because 2024 में audit दोगे तो difficult हो जाएगा, अभी दे सकते हो थोड़ा कम easy वाला पेपर तो दे दो ना, that's our recommendation. But that's all there is to it really, you know. You have full control and choice as to what you want when you want it. Hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. Another follow-up question to this is, let's say I specialized in bar. I have given and cleared bar subject of specialization. But after completing CPA, I go for an interview in an industry. I offer myself for a tax profile. So will I be questioned? You took the specialization subject bar, but you are offering yourself in
I'll tell you.
tax.
पर ये सवाल मेरे मन में बहुत देर से था, बहुत देर से मतलब जब से ये अनाउंस हुआ ना 24 का नया कैंडिडेट, आई हैव बीन थिंकिंग अबाउट इट, आई हैव इवन बीन टॉकिंग अबाउट इट इन माय ओन सेशंस, यू नो. Here's what I've now heard. I've heard कि ऐसा कुछ नहीं होने वाला, इंडस्ट्री इज नॉट गोइंग टू रियली लुक एट इट एज अ थिंग, एंड नोबडी विल रियली इवन आस्क यू आपने कौन सी स्पेशलाइजेशन करी है. बट हियर्स द डील, if you are somebody who specializes in BAR and then go for a tax job, versus there's another dude there who specializes in TCP, tax compliance and planning, will he not be better read than you are? Will he not be in a position to give better answers to the interviewer's questions than you are? Or vice versa, right? What if it's a BAR, आपने पढ़ लिया और आप अकाउंटिंग की नौकरी करने जा रहे हो, तो what happens in an interview then? You have BAR का special knowledge, this guy knows only TCP. Will you not have better answers to give than he does? तो out of sheer common sense मेरा दिमाग ये कहता है कि फर्क तो पड़ेगा ही यार, जिसमें स्पेशलाइज करोगे उस डोमेन में आगे काम करोगे, तो स्पेशलाइजेशन डोमेन के हिसाब से चूज करो. और एक बात और है, यूजुअली एक्सपीरियंस्ड लोग स्विच करते भी नहीं है क्योंकि करने का सेंस भी नहीं होता. अगर 3-4 साल आपने ऑडिट में काम कर लिया है तो फिर अब टैक्स में जाओगे तो यूजुअली पे लो ही होगी, हाई नहीं होगी, बिकॉज दे विल टेक यू ऑन एज अ फ्रेशर. सो वो भी एक कारण है जिस तरह से स्पेशलाइजेशन उसी से चूज करो, वही चूज करो जिसमें आपका इंटरेस्ट है, जिसमें आपने काम करना है. दैट इज माय रिकमेंडेशन. होप दैट मेक्स सेंस.
Yes, another follow-up question to this is, let's say someone's interested in bar and he plans to do while doing CPA specialization in bar. But if he's a CMA, US CMA, does that bar truly add value in CA, being a specialist of bar? Because he had already done
मैं
CMA.
समझा नहीं. Could you repeat? मैं नहीं समझा. Could you just
As
repeat
per
that?
my understanding, that bar and FAR are overlapping with CMA content.
CMA.
Right.
हाँ. Okay. Kind of. Yeah.
These two subjects are overlapping with CMA. So if someone doesn't want to go in tax or audit, but wants to go in bar only, and he's a US CMA, then does it make sense anyways to enroll for CPA?
They should all complement each other. Okay, let me tell you. By the way, your understanding is not entirely correct. So BAR and FAR, these two subjects are not overlapping with CMA content, but rather 20% of the CMA content only for part 1 is accounting. सिर्फ part 1 में सिर्फ पहला section accounting है. That is a derivative of the FAR and BAR that you will study in CPA. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि CMA के अंदर ज्यादा कंटेंट है, CPA के अंदर जो है वो कम है, वो वहां पहले कवर हो गया, ऐसा नहीं है. CPA का जो कंटेंट है उसका कुछ छोटा सा परसेंटेज यहाँ कवर्ड है. So this is only going to add value because you studied extra, you studied more, so it's going to complement your qualification. It's not going to draw from it. or subtract from it. You see my point?
Yeah, understood. Thanks.
My pleasure. Any other questions I can answer? Right? Hey, Monica. Himanshu's allowed you to talk.
Uh,
Monica, hi.
yes. Hi, Rohan. First of all, thank you for the session. I have two questions, please. My first question is, like the CA pattern, do you need to, I mean, is there a number of attempts that you need to keep giving for the exams to pass all of them? As in, like, you know, how if
अच्छा कोई
you
ग्रुप टोटल
haven't
वाला
passed,
सिस्टम नहीं है
yeah,
नहीं
the group
कोई
system.
ग्रुप टोटल वाला सिस्टम नहीं है each exam is independent so you pass each exam after you get a 75 percentile or more in each exam and that's it they're not
Okay,
interlinked
and that's
together.
it. So you don't need to, even if you like not pass the second one, you can just, the first one is passed, one time passed is passed forever.
Correct.
Okay. And then my second question is, if the 13th August registration goes through and everything, the eligibility criteria is met and everything is in order, how soon can we give the audit paper or the first paper?
I'll tell you. No, audit should be your first paper, Vanika.
Okay.
But let me tell you. So first things first, to get your evaluation, it will require at least 4 to 6 weeks. And then to get your first NT is another 4 weeks. So 2.5 months is the minimum timeline for the paperwork to get through to get you to the point where you can schedule your exam. Meanwhile, when it comes to your preparation, 3 months is actually the minimum time needed to take up audit because it's a month and a half of training and another month and a half of self study. So 2.5 to 3 months is when you'll be in a position to actually take up the first exam.
So which will end up being December. So the soonest would be December
September,
then.
October, November, not December. November.
November. Okay. All right. And then
November
once
15
you,
के आसपास.
okay, so suppose let's say I give the exam on the 15th of November, and then the result comes out 2 weeks later. In
About
case
15 days.
there's a question where I don't clear, how soon can I give the same exam again?
You can give it again in January, but why will you be in such a situation? This will only mean
I
I'm
think
not
that
doing anything
I'll
properly.
refer back to my first question then, because I've, you know, once bitten, twice shy. I was enrolled in CA and I was at the inter level, and I didn't want to give the final after
I'll
that
tell
because
you.
I was so demotivated. So yeah.
I know a ton of people are like that. Hold on, I'll tell you. This is not at all like CA. And please don't even compare it. Apart from our job titles, nothing else is the same. Even the gap emphasis that we follow is US gap versus IFRS is different.
Yes.
It's not the same thing. Our testing pattern is different. So yes, your CPA is a close substitute to your CA, but it's not derived from the same testing pattern as CA is. CA is not difficult in terms of the amount of intelligence it requires. It's difficult in the amount of memory it requires and the number of papers there are and the fact that it's spread across a 5-year timeline or even more. That is what makes it difficult. When you talk about the CPA, there are only 4 exams. It's got a year or a year and a half timeline. It's not as stretched out and it's not a boundless content. It has clear boundaries. So it's not at all like CA. Don't let that hold you back. मेरे को पता है सीए कैसा है मेरे को पता है वो किस तरह की चीज होती है my wife is in a similar sort of situation as you. She's done her inter, she never gave her final for this very reason. So that's how it is. I know that. So koi nahi, she's now a CPA, she's working in Deloitte, she's bound to become a manager next year. So all is well, all is fully recovered.
Right. All right. Thank you so much. That was it.
My pleasure. Any other questions I can answer? Hey Colin.
Is it true that Emirates UAE CPA is easier than US CPA?
So Emirates doesn't have its own CPA, by the way. Emirates में paper US CPA का ही होता है. So Emirates in fact uses the US CPA as their official qualification because Emirates का अपना कोई accounting body है ही नहीं जैसे US में AICPA और इंडिया में ICA है. Emirates में है नहीं कॉलम. So Emirates में if you wanting to go as a qualified accountant या तो CA करके चले जाओ या फिर CPA करके चले जाओ. CPA करके जाओगे तो even better because they recognize that as a qualification that they work with. And a lot of the CFOs of these Saudi companies or these Emirati companies are actually CPAs. So you'd be surprised to know कि अगर आप पेपर इंडिया में दो या दुबई में दो उससे फर्क नहीं पड़ता और उनकी अपनी सीपीए है नहीं. That's the way it is. किसने पूछा है सवाल? Colin ने. What is my advice to average students? I have the same advice. For every 2 hours that you're studying, divide it into 2 parts. Please understand, this is not a paper where theory is the most important thing at all. Theory is least important. The most important thing is understanding the theory and being able to apply it. Right? Depreciation का formula नहीं रटना है. Depreciation कौन सा method किस business transaction पे better suit करेगा, इसकी judgment रखनी है. That's the sort of paper this is. It's more about logical reasoning. It's more about understanding than it is about रटा मार लिया, content याद कर लिया, line याद हो गई, section number याद हो गए. इन चीजों की कोई value नहीं है in the CPA exam. I hope that's right.
I have completed my BCom correctly person MBA in finance, but university is not UGC approved.
Okay.
So will it count in credit?
Is it AICTE approved? Your university किनका सवाल था ये? अच्छा, anonymous है. So anonymous जी, आपने एक सवाल पूछा मुझसे कि my university is not UGC approved, my MBA college. Do let me know, is it AICTE approved? If it's AICTE approved, चल जाएगा. बाकी हाँ ये सच है कि UGC approval is better and has usually gives you more credits. But if it is AICTE approved तो भी चल जाएगा. But if it's none of those, तो फिर you might have to think twice, and I'll have to get it checked as well. That's the idea. Okay. Any other questions? That's it. All right. Thank you so much for giving me your time. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead. And if I'm going to see you in class tomorrow, then please, I'd love to see you in class. All right. Bye. Enjoy yourselves.